All right, so welcome everyone to this RAP Tax Committee meeting on Wednesday, May 18, 2022. And I guess I need to say who is in attendance here, probably, right? We've got David Hathaway, Sarah Jorgensen, Sarah Olson, Dallin Briggs, and Kim Bear, and Kyle Vincent. First we are going to start out with an invocation given by Sarah Jorgensen, and we'll go from there.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful that we can live in this beautiful city. We are grateful for the beautiful weather that we are able to enjoy. We are grateful for this country that we live in. We pray that Thou will bless us and help us to make good choices. We are grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We are grateful for Thy Son, Jesus Christ, and we say these things in His name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead out on that. Rise. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you.
Sorry.
I guess before we get into the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, I just had a thought as we were getting started in this, and having most of us, I guess, have been on this committee for what is it, about a year and a half now, I think, that we've been doing this. But it's been cool to be able to see like real results and changes and things, from decisions that we make. I mean, I don't know about you, the other members of the committee, but it's fun to see our beautiful town of Santaquin actually changing for the better because of things that we get to do. So it's really privileged to be part of this. I'm loving it. So I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes from our March 9th meeting, but we need to approve those minutes. Is there anyone that will motion to approve the minutes of that meeting? Motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. The minutes stand approved. So that brings us to our new business. So I'm going to turn the time over to John, who will discuss the RAP Tax projects from 21-22.
Very good. Thank you. And I just want to also mention that we've got some of our department staff here as well, and also Brian, our park supervisor, representing our amazing parks that look so great. Shauna Jo Eves, recreation supervisor for events and classes. Hattie Roberry, our administrative assistant for our department. Of course, I'm the director of community services. And then we also want to recognize two of our summer interns that are studying parks and recreation from Dixie State University. And they both actually are from Santaquin. And so we were super lucky to have Alexa Gray and Mitchell Williams here this summer. They just started last week, and we thought this would be a great opportunity for them to see how, just like Kyle said, what you do as a volunteer resident really does make a difference. Mm-hmm. Today, the difference is up to $130,000 of a difference in just one fiscal year. And so very excited. Kyle and I were discussing, he said, man, it seemed like just a year ago we were like at $58,000. That is how much our sales tax is increasing. Almost the entire 130. It's closer to 100. What happened is because we were budgeting 58, but the money was coming in closer to 80 or 90, and we're a year behind that money. We're actually using a little bit of money, like $20,000, that actually came in after the fact. Last year was too late to authorize it because it came in late. As well as on the board, we'll discuss the $12,300 that was tentatively set aside for a project. So all in all, that together, that's what we're looking at this year. So starting July 1 to following June of 2023, $130,000. But I think that expectation is the sales tax is only going to continue to increase. And so I think that number is going to be pretty consistent as we move forward. Unless it dips one year as we are just catching up from past monies. But what I wanted to do to kind of help is when there's a lot of different projects that are submitted, sometimes I'm sure to you as well as us, they all just kind of start to look the same. And so we put together a little spreadsheet that you've got in front of you that talks about what type of a program is it, or what type of a recommendation is this? Is this one-time money? Is this a multi-year request, like money that would need to be saved in a couple years worth of RAP tax money to achieve? Or is it really, it's kind of innovation money that could be a little bit of both, but it's money that really could create something special. And so those were kind of the types of money. Also on your spreadsheet that you're looking at is the categories are kind of split into recreation, arts and events, and then parks, kind of parks and facilities in general. And not that we haven't ever determined that we need to split the money a certain way in each of those three, but as you can see on the wall, we've actually got 3 sections of papers that we're gonna be dealing with today. And they're all representing one of those 3 areas. So when we talk about RAP tax, recreation, arts, and parks, we try to be well balanced and try to bring ideas that benefit all 3 of those areas. As I go through these, feel free to stop me, ask questions, and it might be a question that Brian or Shauna Joe can jump in and help too. If guys have thoughts too as we're going along, please feel free to jump in and discuss those. So 2 questions, and you guys can kind of give me some direction here. We can review all 20 plus programs, or we can review the recreation ones and kind of sticker those, then go to the arts events, sticker those, and then go to the parks. And when I say sticker, it's kind of a prioritization exercise. Do you guys have a preference? Does it get lost when we do all 20 together, or do you have no preference?
I would kind of like to have it separated out for me. I mean, that to me, that might be a little bit hard to kind of see them in
kind
the
of
categories.
focus on
that
one
way,
section, we'll do the stickering activity, and then at the very end, of course, we'll come back and review all of them together before any funds are ultimately, at the end of the day, this group, we come out with some prioritization, and we say, hey, this is the X amount that equals 130 that we recommend to go to City Council, and then we pass that information to Dave, and Dave at Councilmember Hathaway will take that back, and in June, City Council then has the ability to review those recommendations, accept them completely as is, or make adjustments or adaptations, and then ultimately approve. And so that's the process. So any other questions leading up to just jumping in and looking at the recreation ones to start with?
So if we do like section, you're saying we'll talk about a section and then vote on a section.
So it's not committing any money. So the stickering process is going to be such. So recreation is over here. There's 7 items in recreation. What we want to do after we talk about those 7 items is we're going to give you some orange stickers, and you get 5 stickers to put on those 7 papers. Once everybody goes and puts those stickers down on just the recreation, we'll take them off the wall and we'll kind of tabulate them, and then we'll go on to the next area. And it'll just give us an idea, so when we get to the end, it's not like, oh my goodness, where do we start? There's $130,000. We can just start at the ones with the most stickers. Do we really need to discuss this, or 100% said they want this one for $2,000? Yes, say yes. And it'll just help us to kind of speed that process up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
And I'll
Well-
repeat that as we get to the end of recreation. Recreation is in no priority over the others. It's just RAP tax, RAP. So we're going to start with recreation. And the first item, and by the way, this year we did not receive any nonprofit submittals. I talked with Chelsea Rowley, and they were kind of in the middle of looking at some adjustments with their organization, and so they'll probably resubmit next year. They're the one nonprofit organization that I'm familiar with that operates here in Santaquin.
What's it called? The baby stuff, right?
It's the Lily Pad project.
Yes,
Thank you.
lily pad. Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah.
The Lily Pad project. So the first one is pickleball equipment. So as you know, we're actually building pickleball courts. We have park impact fee money from new houses that go in a pot and can be used for the building of things that are permanent. So that doesn't include the pickleball paddles and equipment, stuff like that. So the nets are considered permanent because they're going to be anchored down. You could technically take the fence down as well, but those are considered permanent. Fencing, pickleball nets. Yes.
I just have a question about equipment. Is there other equipment that's available for people to check out from the city? Like, it seems like there's Frisbee
Yes.
stuff.
We have disc disc golf stuff that we make free,
Mm-hmm.
cornhole stuff. Brian's staff put in the cement cornhole at the park, so we have them at our building. We actually have some kayaks, and Sarah and I were talking before, and she's like, do we rent these out? And I'm like, I have never thought about renting those out. That's a brilliant idea. We use them, during the summer, but why not consider renting them to someone?
So does the equipment get checked out often?
I wouldn't say frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Just today we had someone come in to
Did
check
you have
out
someone?
frisbee golf.
Sometimes we have youth groups
Yeah,
that,
it's
that
not
have organized
frequent,
things. A
but
lot
we
of
get
times
it.
people have their own equipment,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to have to stop and borrow it.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that we would have pickleball equipment not only to check out to people, that we would use for our city-sponsored classes as well.
Okay.
I have a question about the equipment. So the pickleball paddles would be something they'd have to come to the rec center and check out,
Yeah.
right? But then there was a picture of the box.
We'll
Maybe I
we'll talk
should-
about that one a little bit later. That one's in the same section. It's called a borrow box, where we could
Okay.
actually have a box on site, and we'll get into that a little bit more, where people could literally have stuff on site to just grab and play with.
Well, that's what I wondered about, is if you have stuff just sitting there, like if you were to put the racket or pickleball paddles on the fence and just, here you go, how are you gonna keep track of it?
That's a great question. So initially, the pickleball was not one of the borrow box locations because they're pretty expensive.
Okay.
We're talking things that are smaller that wouldn't cost as much money. So we will get to that. The reason I have a picture of this is when people are in line, these are little metal things.
It's like a placeholder that you're next.
Oh,
And
yeah,
people that are waiting, they put their paddle in line, and then they go, and that's how you determine priority of who plays.
Oh,
So this would not be us just leaving these out. These are expensive paddles. So.
I will not leave my paddle there.
no.
But that's a really good question. These are just two examples of how people. But these metal things do cost a little bit of money. The idea was if we could purchase 4 sets of paddles and balls and these little metal holders for an estimated cost of $2,000, that gets us started. Then at that point, people can actually pay for pickleball programming, and the money from their programs would help sustain racket and ball replacement at that point.
And then would you put signs up to tell people, because they have those, to tell people what those things are for, because they have them at the
Spanish word?
Payson.
Oh.
At the Payson.
That's a great idea.
And
Yeah.
they have a sign. I don't know that people really follow it, but it says, you're supposed to play once and then leave the courts for the next people in line. So you can put your paddle there, but if there's no sign that says play one game or one set, whatever you call it, and then you need to free up the court, they won't.
That's a great idea. We could definitely do some signage. There's going to have to be a level of education as the public gets to that point. Right now, we're anticipating having the courts completed by Orchard Days and having an actual tournament this year.
Awesome. Oh,
So,
that's
And our 2 interns are avid pickleball players.
yeah,
They
are.
just played today. But the idea being is that we're going to actually do some free drop-in at the tennis courts during the summer with these 2 leading the way, and then getting people geared up so that when those open up, we're right into league play and different formats.
Cool.
Any other questions on the pickleball request? Okay, so that's for $2,000. And all of these, as we've talked about in past years, well, not all of them. I guess some of them you can't buy a partial ice machine, but some of them you could say, hey, we like the 2,000, or you know what, we get toward the end, we want to do 1,500. There's some flexibility involved in most of them, unless it requires the full amount to buy an object. So the second item is an ice machine, and we don't have any current concession stands with ice machines right now. And so the idea being is that if we had one functioning ice machine of our soon-to-be 3 concession stands, that we could literally bag up ice and take to the different concession stands on a daily basis, and use that for first aid purposes, for drink purposes, it's always good at a concession stand to have ice. We see that people ask for ice all the time, and we usually, we've got a big block of ice, we don't have cubed ice. So this type of again, there's different sizes of machines, but the one that we're looking at is about $3,000. Again, this is a one-time purchase, not one for every concession stand, but one that probably would probably be Harvest View, just because it's going to be open twice a year versus once a year. Any questions on that one?
I just want to say it's also really handy to have them around sporting events for first aid. So
As far as concessions go, do they normally just sell like cans of soda?
A lot of times we currently do. We've kind of played around with the idea of eventually, we haven't delved into this, but eventually looking to work with a Pepsi or Coca-Cola where we actually would have a syrup machine and actually do a fountain machine, and then you would for sure need it.
Yeah.
But we're not to that point yet. But it would surprise you how many times people come and request ice. Even if they get a soda, they want a cup with ice.
I don't mean to keep talking. I hope I'm not overstepping, but also like some of our sports that are off-site that aren't like there, we fill up coolers all the time to take them to those events. So one is tennis. So I'm oftentimes running to the gas station or somewhere to get a bag of ice, or I'm trying to catch the city here for ice out of the machine downstairs. So it's nice when you have access and you can get to the ice machine and not have to always go buy bags of ice.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Okay. All right.
just
So that's the second item. The third one, I wanted to really explain this one because at first glance, I know this one's like, hey, why are people not buying equipment? And I wanted to explain that we are definitely buying equipment, and equipment is very expensive. Brian can maybe chime in a minute on this one. We're to the point where we've got to raise fees, and we do it systematically. You know, maybe it's $5 or so forth, but equipment is outrageous. One catcher set can be $200 to $400. A bat that's just a rec bat is $100 plus. A lot of people buy $400 bats. And so you can imagine when we have people pay their fee, the fees covering officials, their uniform, hat, shirts in baseball, for example, that there's not a lot of leftover money. And then we've got to buy balls, and that cost has gone up and so forth. And so what we're doing is we're trickling, if you were to pull in all of our volunteer coaches, we're very slowly trickling on the replacement of equipment. So the thought is with RAP tax is not every single year to ask this committee for assistance, but every few years maybe to come back and say, hey, could we take a small chunk of this that benefits thousands of youth during the year? I mean, we would use it for buying all kinds of new equipment, every ball that you see there, some catcher's equipment that we're literally looking at helmets that are zip tied together, and we're just like, okay, let's replace 10 of them, but we have 30 teams, so you 10, sorry, you've got a bad helmet this year and we're out of money. So that is the justification behind this request. Again, first blush, it looks like, well, why are the people paying, not paying? They are paying, and then we also seek sponsorship to help with this as well. It's just not going all the way. Brian, what are your thoughts on that?
No, yeah. It seemed like about every 5 years you need to get a good chunk of money to fix a lot of the catcher's equipment.
So there's some flexibility here, whether it's 5,000 or 10,000. We're saying, great, if we could get 12,000, that would be great. But anywhere along the lines, Dallin?
How does your guys' request for sponsorship from? How do you guys do that? Who have you reached out to try and help support that? I know in the community, but also manufacturers. I know for youth sports programs are very willing to give equipment and dollars. So
I don't think we ever got equipment that I've seen.
I reached out to Dick's Sporting Goods, and they sent us like 8,000 lacrosse balls. We didn't do anything with lacrosse, so I mean, it really is whatever they have that they're willing to give. So I never had any. I reached out to BSN, Dick's, a few others, and just I didn't ever really get anything. The sponsorships went really well. There's a lot of community businesses that donate, and that helps a lot.
On my end, the only sponsorships that I've ever gotten from sporting goods stores have been they might give me like a 10% discount on the equipment or something like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, just curious.
That's a great idea we can continue to explore.
Mhm.
I know that Sporting Goods is starting to enroll more community type events, and maybe some discounts or coupons, things that we could then go to their store specifically, but getting discounted rates. And they're just kind of unveiling that this year. Again, this is something that we don't anticipate bringing every single year, but just kind of as needed, a shot in the arm to just really help. Eric would definitely see how far this could go in every sport, just a little bit in every sport to help. Any other thoughts or questions on this one? Okay.
Raise fees. Have
Raise
to do,
fees.
Have to do as a parent.
Yes.
As parents,
Everything's
this-
going up.
Yeah.
You'll expect that.
Yeah, we're willing to pay more for better refs, better equipment, so that our kids that are playing have the best experience.
And we'll definitely continue to increase.
Yeah.
I think as we hit this fall, that's something we'll be discussing with our community services board. But I think it's time to bump things about $5, and it's sad because the inflation is more than that. It's
More than that,
significant, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to hit people over and over and over. So we try to use one-time money for one-time things, right? And so that's why that was proposed. This one I'm going to actually turn over to our archery guru that's in-house. Sean and Joe, tell us a little bit. This is the amount that we're initially requesting, with some different things down the road that could be paid for by participants. But why don't you explain that a little bit?
Okay, I am a certified USA archery coach, as well as with NASP, which is a National Archery in Schools program. USA is actually the JOED program that actually trains kids and gets them in the Junior Olympics, believe it or not. The equipment, usually they have these kits, these beginner kits that you can do, and they have two different types of bows that they like to teach archery with. Archery, you can do compound bows, which is very popular amongst kids that are into bow hunting and stuff like that. And then they have the recurve or the long bow, whichever you want to call it. And if I had to choose, I'd do the recurve. It's fun. It's lighter. It's just a lot of fun. The equipment, when you do these beginner kits, you get about 12 bows. 10 of them are what you would consider right-handed bowmen, and the other 2 are left, because they actually are different. I don't know how many of you guys shoot bows and arrows, but they're different. And then the targets that you're looking at, the 5 that come with the beginner kit right there, are really cheap targets. That's why I put the block target up there, because eventually I'd like to get to where you can actually purchase those. The cheap ones in the beginner kit that I first started teaching with, they lasted about a year, and then I had to repurchase them. The block targets that I switched to as my cheap ones died out were about $25 to $35, $40 more a target. And they actually lasted me the rest of the 10 years that I taught. So I was like, okay, I'm sticking with block targets because they are a lot better purchase. But you get, with that kit, you get the bow stand that you can hang the bows on. You get the 5 targets, which allow you to shoot the 12 bows. With the 5 targets, allows you to teach 10 kids at a time. You can't necessarily do 12 because you don't have 6 targets. 2 kids can shoot at a target at a time. And then if you go back up, does it come with, I think it comes with a kit that allows you to repair the arrows. It comes with 150 arrows. How many of you guys are shoot bows? Anybody in here?
I have shot bows. But I'm
Okay.
not-
So arrows can cost anywhere from up to $22 an arrow. They're insane. But they usually send a little kit that you can repair the fletchings and stuff on the arrows, as well as they give you some guards. They usually give you, I'm trying to remember everything that comes in it.
So everything that you guys see in those pictures.
Yeah, basically everything there is there.
Everything that
They do give you a repair kit. You can buy additional equipment too as you go along and stuff like that. This specific kit comes through the USA program, and I think I can actually get it where you get 6 compound and 6 recurve. And really, my feeling is stick with one type to start with, and then if you want to get recurve or compound the next time, you can like mix and match then. Just because you want to be able to teach all the kids the same way when you're trying to teach archery. This is a program that most kids that do this type of program, this is a beginner class. So you're going to teach them how to shoot, and if they really like it and they want to go further into JOAD, they're going to end up buying their own equipment because you want your bow to actually fit you, and you want it to match your draw length and everything like that. So this is honestly just kind of a fit-all type kit where you can teach kids and introduce them to archery. And just to plug it, just one more, there's only one sport that's taught in schools, because I taught this with the school district, believe it or not, that's safer than archery. Just one sport. Does anybody want to guess what it is?
Ping pong.
It's ping pong. Archery is the second safest sport in schools.
It really is ping pong.
And it's because the rules are very strict. That was a very good guess, John.
My gosh.
So-
What age would you offer this?
You can actually teach it down to 6 years old. I don't enjoy teaching 6-year-olds in archery, but you can go all the way down to 6 years of age, and you teach this all the way up through high school. Because this is actually a competition. JOAD is an actual competition group. The two programs, I'm not trying to sell the programs. National Archery in Schools program teaches, again, I think they start about 8. They go a little bit older, and because it's elementary school, and then they go up to, they go up through high school too. So yeah,
So you would be offering this class once a
through
week?
the recreation district.
Yeah.
It would probably eventually go out at Harvest View, back behind the fields, out where we have the dirt area.
Yeah.
So that it's shooting away from people, but there's plenty of space.
You definitely want to have a good range. You don't want it to be
Right.
so. Any questions? It's a really popular. I started teaching this right on the heels of Hunger Games, and it was explosive. But anyway,
Anyway.
no pun intended. But the kids were really excited about it. And I'll just tell you right now, one of the kids that I started teaching, when we started teaching that, just got a full ride scholarship, I believe, either Weber State. There's like 2 colleges in Utah that give scholarships to be on their archery teams. And then throughout the country, it's one of those untapped resources to get kids a college scholarship.
That's cool.
Yeah. He just did. He got a full ride scholarship. It's going to pay for his whole.
And not potentially, Shauna Joe could actually assist it, instruct, but the idea would be that we'd find others instructors too that she could supervise
I'm a
and
certified.
expand. 'Cause
Where
she's
I'm
got that
certified, I can teach other people to become a level 1 instructor. So I can actually hire, certify, and pay other people to teach the program. I don't have to actually be the person running it all the time. So anyway.
I was thinking if it was back in the days when I was a kid, my brothers would have been in the class and said, "Hey, we need some volunteers to run across the field over there."
No.
But
We do
would
not
be
do
much
3D.
safer than that. So
No moving targets.
Thank you, Shauna Joe. So archery class, again, this is a beginner kit that would really, again, help us start a whole new area
Mhm.
of programming. This next one is something that Shauna Joe started last year as kind of an teenage adventure camp, and we did get a couple kayaks with some of the money that we had through the participant revenue, and we just found that sometimes when you offer these programs that kids don't either have a bike or we need additional supplies. Again, so this is more of a one-time supply where we would get at least 12 mountain bikes with some repair kits and at least 4 additional kayaks to add to our existing larger 2-person kayaks so that we could use for summer adventure camps. That would be just the beginning. As we build the mountain bike park up the mountain, we could literally use these bikes, haul them up there and have a class. And people that have their own, great, bring it. If not, we provide helmet and bikes. And so the idea here is not super expensive. I know there's a lot nicer bikes, but these would be more of an entry level, something that we feel comfortable using on beginning youth. But that would be kind of the idea with, again, a cost being about $5,000 for those items, depending on the quality of bike and packs.
I was gonna say those
Questions?
those are some great bikes.
Well, again, you can spend $2,000 on one bike,
One
and
bike.
like, our idea is not to provide that type of a bike, but going
I
to
think
a
this is
Dick's
great.
Sports and getting some entry level
Yeah.
bikes that are, you know, just really teach people some basic skills.
I think they're awesome. So I'm
So-
excited about
And
it.
again, this budget money, it can be used from July all the way till June. So even if the trails aren't all built right now, again, this is money that can be used throughout the year.
When are the trails gonna be done?
I'm looking over
The
here.
question
Well,
is, when will they
Where
be
does Dan
in?
go? Just
Oh.
joking.
It's
I
really,
thought we gave them
it's-
some money last time and they were.
yep, it's
they already had their.
it's being worked on right now. In
Yeah.
fact, Sarah just went up today with someone from a Trail Alliance organization and help. We're
So
just
there will
moving.
be trails there this year,
Yeah.
but it'll
It's just a process.
This
it will be
summer
added
scene
on
or-
every year.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It'll just
This is
grow
great.
bigger and bigger every year.
Cool.
The delay's really been more on the parking lot where we need to get some permits before we actually got a grant for the restrooms and we're already looking at purchasing that, and so everything's it's going. By summer you're gonna have people up there.
We'll have a
More
parking
so.
lot with lights and a bathroom.
Wow.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome.
Great.
So Sarah, you were gonna ask a question about this.
Oh, last year for the camp, where did you take the kids? I'm just curious.
So the last year we didn't do a lot of biking, but we did some biking around town where we did a scavenger hunt and we went to the Red Barn for ice cream and stuff like that. What we did do is we went to like the Provo Recreation Center. We took them out to Burston Pond with some of the kayaks that we had. They loved that. What was the other? There was 4 trips.
This year we're anticipating either like the Spanish Fork Trail or a Provo River Trail.
was gonna say, I
where
think
we
they're
would
coming.
literally take the youth up to a place
Oh,
where there's
what were
a
the-
long.
We took them on a
big
hike
trail
to Grotto, 12 and up.
for
12.
this specific camp.
If you are doing 12 and up for this camp, that's like you would need a bigger bike than that. That's
Yeah,
like a little
I
bit
just
big.
grabbed a picture off
Oh,
of
okay.
Dick's
Well, I just want to make sure that you don't buy a bunch of. You would
Junior
almost
bikes?
want a small adult bike.
Yeah.
So one potential is for if the group likes this later on is to maybe consider increasing this maybe for a little bit larger bikes.
Mo-
Again,
Go ahead.
you could spend $2,000 a bike. The idea was just
You
some
can spend
entry-level
$20,000 a bike.
stuff. You really could. couldn't you?
That's
My bike was close. Yeah, I won't tell you how much my bike was. That's why I said those are some great bikes. But most of the kids came with a bike. There was a few that didn't have them, and I think most kids will have some type of access to a bike, but not all the kids have them.
And how many bikes are there right now?
none.
We-
None?
Zero.
We haven't
No
purchased
bikes.
any.
Okay.
Yeah, we
But
just
there's a
purchased
couple of kayaks.
We've got a couple kayaks that are 2-person.
Okay.
So last year we just used my personal ones and the city ones. The
Yeah.
idea was that eventually you have all city equipment. So if something's broken,
Some of the
you're
kids
not
didn't come with helmets
using
too, and I
yours.
ran home and grabbed some of mine. So
Yes, Kyle.
Probably this is a stupid question, but is there room to store all this equipment?
That's what I was
That's
just.
what I was
thinking.
just
Where
gonna
we gonna
say.
You know, that would be something that we'd have to determine.
Storage and on bikes that aren't. I mean, if you're buying lesser expensive bikes, the maintenance on them,
Yeah.
that just
Replacing them.
yeah.
If it's a new realm for us, but
Yeah.
definitely something that would require some follow up. Each one of these things, from even archery, storage. I mean, we've got ideas where it's just a matter of logistically moving things around.
Love the kayaks. You can drop them, throw them, run them over. They still work. Bike.
Okay.
can't do that with a bike.
Any other questions on
Just
this
kidding.
one, or should we go to the next?
Or a bow, to be
Let's go to the
honest.
next.
Okay, perfect. This one is the one that Kim mentioned, referred to a borrow box. And I'm going to actually have Hattie, she went to a conference and found out about this and brought this idea back. And would you mind sharing your thoughts on that, Hattie?
Sure. So, oh no, you're good. When I went to the URPA conference, we had the opportunity to sit in some of the classes, and we had a presenter that was from North Carolina, I believe, and she presented this idea to all of us at their city that they do it, and they talked about how they had all of these facilities that had all these great things, but nobody was coming to play on them. And so they were super confused, and they were like, well, we have all these great things, but nobody's using them. So they decided to implement these boxes to give people the accessible use of the equipment needed to play on them. Kim brought up the stealing thing. She did bring up that at points they were emptied. And what they did is they just they talked about it a lot on social media, where they took pictures of it, and they tried really hard to have a lot of community buy-in. They put signs next to them saying, like, if these are taken, you know, then we can't do this. And she said after they did that, they didn't have a lot of issues with stealing. She said especially with the disc golf community, they're really good. Like, you can see the disc golf one there. They're really good about putting their old stuff in for other people to use. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And the borrow box doesn't have to look like this. This is an example. It might be a chest. It could be, we would work with Brian and his very crafty crew to determine what's the best thing. It would need to be bigger if it was by our basketball courts. We have a lot of kids that go there, and you see kids goofing around, and they don't have a basketball. And we would check one out. One of the things that we have is as we replace old basketballs, we usually send them to the DI. Well, we could put some of our older equipment in these boxes, and then if it disappears, it's not a big deal. Or even, you know, Walmart, you can buy a $5 basketball. So there's some things that are not super costly, whereas there are other things like tennis rackets and pickleball rackets that if we were to do that, we might put some sort of a lock with a number where they'd have to call in and get the number from the rec office.
You might be able to
Check
do
in.
a cheap pickleball racket, like the wooden ones that
Yeah,
aren't. People don't necessarily want those.
Yeah.
So
But over at Centennial Park, like we've got those brand new cornhole sets. Nobody's playing on them. I just think because they don't know where the equipment would be.
the day that we had the art festival, people were playing on them
Yes,
the whole
yes.
time, but we had the equipment sitting there for them to play
Right.
with.
Yeah, I
we've-
think if
yeah.
people have access to equipment, then they're more likely to use it.
Yeah.
Because what the presenter was kind of saying at URPA is that people want to play it, but people aren't going to the parks with cornhole bags or
Volleyball.
volleyballs. Yeah, they're just going to the park to play. But if they see the facility there, they want to play on it. It's just better if they have the stuff there to use.
So is it up to, would it be up to the city to, the rec department to supply those boxes?
Yes.
Or are you hoping
Well,
people drop off their
No,
own?
we would supply them. So the money is a one-time to kind of help build some boxes or purchase things that are. That was kind of the
It
idea
looks
with.
like my little
the
free
money.
library, that's why.
Yeah, that's exactly what they
Bring
are.
one,
Sister has one of
share
those,
one.
That's
You
what
do some
the
of those
posts are.
lifetime
Yeah.
plastic boxes that are durable and
Yeah.
And then again, you've got money for the year. So if we didn't use it all on the box, that hey, we could use some money throughout the year to replace some things if they were stolen. But yeah, Centennial's a perfect spot. Volleyball, basketball, cornhole, potentially Orchard Cove with some tennis equipment,
Theodore
potentially because
Allen.
you can get some rackets. We've got old rackets that we rotate through too, and stick some of the old ones in there. And then Theodore Allen with disc golf. So those would be the three primary sites that we would probably start as far as pilots go, if this was approved. So, okay. There's one other one, and we'll come back to this one. One other one with recreation that kind of got out of order. We've kind of been experimenting a little bit with an app that we often hear people say we didn't hear about that event. We have banners, but I don't drive down that street, or how do I find out? And they don't check the city newsletter, or they don't get our social media. And so Nephi City is the most recent city to go toward this app, but there's a lot of cities throughout Utah that are using it, and it's a literal app you download as a parent on your phone. It's a Santaquin specific app, and we would put on it recreation, events, library, museum. And so if there was an event, you would actually get a little notification with your app on your phone. All of this app is amazing, and it just comes with a cost that we don't have this year in our budget. So we're bringing this to the committee saying, is this something that would be a great pilot to try 1 year? That if it did work, then maybe the city operational budget would pick it up the next year. It is $4,800 a year to do this app. Sarah?
That was my question.
The cost.
If it was a year.
It's got surveys and polls. It's got all kinds of things, and we're just, again, it's not something that we would keep coming back to RAP Tax every year to fund. If it was something that really worked well operational, then we would try to find a way to pay that through the city operational budget, through our budgets. It's
So
more of just a pilot.
Oh, sorry, but
Yeah.
for something like this, I guess if we're paying for it, it would just be trying to get this app on as many people's phones as possible. I mean, is there already a plan maybe for a way to implement that? Because
Well,
that's
Hattie
I know
would be
that'd
our
be the
main
hard
guru
thing.
doing that. But as a staff, we've met with them, we've talked, They actually came to it about a year ago, and they just were developing this. They didn't have their seed funding as an organization. This company called Poly, but the last year they've really improved things. The engineering, they've got a lot of funding from Silicon Slopes. They actually have venture capitalists that have supported this, and so now they're kicking it out. And we've had a lot of cities, Lehigh, Sandy, Nephi, most recently, that they're jumping on board, saying it's kind of a one-stop shop where people can go instead of trying to. I mean, we're still doing social media and a lot of things, but a lot of that stuff is directed to this app where people can just be like, okay, I've got 4 kids and they're all doing rec stuff, and there's the reminder about registration, and there's a movie in the park, and there's library summer reading days, all the stuff for community services on one app.
I think too, if I were to think real quickly about how we would implement it, we'd probably just put it on all our newsletters, all our social media, everything we're sending out. And the nice thing about this app is you can name it whatever you want. So it's not like people have to remember Polly or whatever. We can name it literally Santaquin Events or Santaquin Recreation. So people can search Santaquin in the App Store and find it super easily.
I know that's been one thing that's been really frustrating, is trying to figure out some kind of method to actually get the word out to people. We've tried, banners, and you try different things, but it's I don't know what people used to do. I guess I'm trying to figure out what works in this day, and maybe this is the way that it has to go, that people just get it on their phone and they're just like, oh yeah, there's that thing. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, and the nice thing is you can tailor it to you. So you select what notifications you want. So if you have kids, you can select sports. If you're an older couple, because I think a lot of times too, people are just bombarded with so much information.
yeah.
So when they see our social media, they're like, well, that doesn't apply to me, that doesn't apply to me. And then maybe 1% of it applies to them. But this, they can kind of select what applies to them and just get the information they want. Like John was
Just
kind of
those
saying.
things.
On the
Like
notifications.
the one-stop shop.
It's a pretty cool. I mean, will it work? I don't know, but it was a pretty neat thing that they showed us. Yes, sir.
How is it different than the Assemble app that's free?
I've never used the Assemble app. So
I've just heard about it. I've never used it either. But
I'm not familiar with it either, but I could do some research on it.
because if it's like the same, I don't know if you could have a different name for it, or I don't know if it's
My
customizable.
experience has been, if it's free, you don't
Yeah.
have as many benefits.
Yeah, I've just heard that other cities have
ads
used
on
it, but I don't know anything about it.
We can definitely look into it,
Mm.
but as of right now, I don't know any information to get back to you.
If I remember correctly, because we've been able to use this with a couple conferences that we've gone to, haven't we?
No.
We haven't used this in a
Different
conference.
thing. That was a texting service.
Pitch.
Does it? Oh, that's right. Does this allow you to respond to people's?
Yes.
Are they able to comment and then we can respond back to them?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
So I thought.
I'm like 80% sure on that.
But-
There's a lot of things that would have to be worked out and trial and error, but again, the idea is it's one-time money to try a one-time thing that would then be funded if it does work successfully. You could spend $4,800 on newspaper and radio ads if you lived in a bigger city in 2 months.
Mhm.
The idea being is that this is something that it's 12 months for that amount. Dave?
Just a quick comment to Kyle's. You think you're frustrated? Just so you know, the city council and the staff has been trying for 3 months now to come up with an idea for that exact thing. So we're at a loss also. So I think anything that trying to get people to do something is
It's very inexpensive. That's not bad at all.
right.
I just looked at Sandy Cities. That's pretty slick.
Do
I
they
just
use this one?
downloaded. Yeah, it was sponsored by Poly, so
Oh.
it was the same one. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, when they came to us a year ago, it makes sense. It was like twice as much money, and they were just trying to get it off the ground. Again, they didn't have their funding in line to do it, but they used to have a page where you'd go to the Poly page and then pick one of the 20 apps. And then when we talked to them as kind of a guinea pig, we just said, there's no way people want to have their very own app. I don't want to be delving into Smithfield City and Sandy and all these trying to find mine. If you can actually get it on the Play Store and then literally download it for free, it's now that's your app. Yeah,
One more question, sorry. So if we did do this with RAP tax funds, could it also be used by city council to get
You
out
know,
other stuff?
That would be a whole different discussion. It's
Mhm.
it's not something that initially would be intended for that. This would be totally
Recreation.
specifically for our department.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's something that could be, but that wouldn't be the intention of passing the RAP tax funds.
Which would probably be a smart thing to do, is to keep them separate.
Yeah.
Because this, like I said, the struggle we're having is even getting general information out. Even though we have the newsletters, we have the city websites, but I'd say 80 to 85% of the people just don't go
Yeah.
there. So I think you keep it to one thing and then really put the effort into trying to get, especially the sports families that's got the kids,
Yeah.
to sign in. That'd be the,
But yeah, if you can,
I don't know. I like that idea. I think
So let's go ahead and do this for the first activity. And again, it's by putting stickers down, you're not committing this 100%. It's just helping us kind of to prioritize. So the six of you come on down.
Can I say something first?
Sure.
Okay. So I was part of a committee a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I'm trying to think how long we've been doing this. To get RAP tax on the ballot. It had to be voted on. The citizens had to decide they wanted this tax. When you say the word tax, people freak out. This is 1 penny for every $10 that's where this money comes from. This is for 10 years, then it's gone. Then we have to put it back on the ballot for 10 more years. So when I think about this, like I've voted on it for this whole time, and it's kind of fun. And I see all this and how fast the money can go to all these little things, which are all great. But my opinion is if the citizens don't see the good that's coming out of having this RAP tax, they're not going to vote on it again. And I feel like when we can use that money towards things that benefit a lot of people, or if they see something big and there's a sign that says this was purchased with RAP tax funds, they're more likely to use it again. So I think it's great to bring in new programs. I personally have a hard time with like maintenance things because I don't think people will notice that as much. But that's just my opinion. Like, I think there's a lot of good things, but my opinion is I would love to show the citizens like what a great thing this is. And if we can't show them with this little trial period, then it could get voted down. I mean, most every city has it because it's so minimal, but I think kind of keep that in mind as you're voting. I think they're all great ideas. I would love to have everything. But that's just something that, I don't know, just even getting it on the ballot and getting people to understand what it is, is kind of a big deal. So I'm glad we have it. Let's use it wisely.
Perfect. And again, we have 2/3 of the projects to still review. This isn't committing none by any means, but let's have the six of you come down. This should take less than a minute, and then we'll jump right into the next section. Okay, so the bottom one, there is 7. Go ahead and just use your 5 stickers on the 5 that you, just the bottom row. There's 7, just use your 5. Yep, just only on the bottom ones that we've discussed. Yep. And then we'll just.
I've seen this program before.
Yeah. And then we'll jump on to the next one. This is just kind of way to help speed things up. And again, it doesn't mean that everything that gets a sticker is going to get funded. That doesn't mean that. It just kind of helps us determine, okay, which ones of these do we really like, and which ones do we.
Those all the bottom ones.
Yeah.
What if that's all we want?
Put it on. Double it up on another one.
Go to that next little level.
Whoa.
Bingo, bango.
That's how you do it, right?
So, give me 5.
Actually, really likes this box sticker though.
Well, I understand.
I like it for the basketballs a lot, but the plastic things that you can get at
Like the lifetime.
at Costco, like that'd be great for a bunch of basketballs. That's
What I'd like to do is get something like a metal one and like actually bolt it down, so we don't lose everything. It just stays waterproof. But yeah, that way we don't lose. If somebody takes a cornhole bag, that's not a big thing to replace. But if they take everything, that kind of.
But I have been down there and
Perfect.
the
Okay,
kids just like
let's
hanging
keep
on
things
basketballs.
let's keep things going. So Dave, you got to stick them on the bottom ones.
That's my fear right there. I just don't see
We
it.
haven't even talked about the top ones yet.
Oh.
We'll get to the top ones. Those are next.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah, just
Whether
bottom.
it's sitting there or not, unfortunately.
I teach in junior
Especially with
high.
all these TikTok.
Excellent. Okay, let's go on to the next ones. And we've
make
gone
a
about an
comment?
hour already, guys, and we're about a third of the way through.
Okay.
So,
3 more hours?
I'll
we've
just make
speed it up.
Yes, go
comment.
ahead, Kim.
Everybody,
let's
about
listen up,
what
please.
Sarah
guys did?
said.
I didn't
Why can't we use some money and purchase little tags to put on every, if we put little pickleball
So,
boxes on the
so,
fence?
so we are going to
Why
do
can't we
signage. Some of it has been
parks?
done and some of it has not been done. Like the basketball court, partially paid for, so that'll be forever.
Yeah,
We
so if
haven't
we-
got the signs up yet. So
Okay,
every
but all I'm
single thing that
saying
goes to, it is harder with something that's a 1 year and done. You just get the advertising from the actual post. It's like the art festival. It's supported by. We advertise it, but
Well,
we
if
don't
they-
have anything permanent to put a sign on. But
yeah, but if they
every
see
flyer.
a sign on every park, because we're contributing to every park, so if they see that wrap tax sign, this was paid for in part by wrap tax on every park, wherever,
yeah, that's a good idea. We're going to do that. We're in the process of doing that. We don't have every project marked yet.
Okay.
But
And it's hard to do
great
that
ideas.
with like sports equipment and stuff.
Well, we're still
Yeah,
also working
But
on
if
some
you
of the
have it on
projects from last
baseball,
year, like the volleyball pit that got approved last year. We have everything bought, but we just barely got all the baseball fence that was also approved, put up. So we're also very understaffed. We're getting there, and we'll get it all done and get
You guys
signs
do
up.
a good job.
But you bring up a good point. In general, people do need to know where that money's going, and then be able to. The more that they see that, like the ice machine has the most stickers. The only one that's going to see that is the staff. The public won't even see that unless we on the cups put a little sticker that says ice provided by Rap Tax. Do you know what I mean? So there's some things that the money benefits the residents, and there's a lot of things that we definitely can put signage and posts of that nature. Let's jump into is arts next. So I'm not being biased here.
think it's-
Recreation, arts, and
yeah.
parks. So the first thing that just kind of falls under arts and events is, again, this is when the city staff brings ideas, it's because these are things that traditionally don't get funded through the regular budget. And so whether they're small or big, they're ideas that are, hey, this could benefit the residents the most. And so that's the process that is vetted for several months before the idea is brought here. Banner, we started to put a couple pilot banner holders. They look nicer. Brian's staff actually put in concrete sleeves so that these can actually be put in the ground, and then when we don't need banners, we can actually take them out and cover them. And so it actually looks pretty good. We've done, we had the money to do 2. So the idea there is requesting money to do 6 total, so about $2,200.
and on the corner of that sign, doesn't it say wrap tax?
Mhm.
It does, right
Not
there.
on the sign, on the banner it does.
On
The banner, so
yeah.
again, that's an example of a program. Every time we put the program information out with
Yeah.
that specific banner. So on this one, the sign, I mean, we could try to put something on the bottom of it, across the bottom that said,
Well, I think
Provided
on a
by
banner,
wrap tax
if
or
it's
something.
on every banner, I think
Then you
that
can
does the
actually see it.
job.
except every banner, like the wrap tax money, truthfully doesn't support every single event that's advertised. Like it doesn't go toward Orchard Days, things like that. So we could find a way wherever it's applicable.
Yeah.
But you're right. So something like this, if we were to try to put a sign on it, and that could be part of your recommendations. Hey, if there's no way to advertise rap tax, it's not being funded. I mean, that could be something in your thought process. Let me go to the next one. So that's banners. We jump down to museum. We have a good discussion every year on museum. We like to, again, where this is 130,000, where possible, be able to put a little bit of money toward the museum. And they traditionally haven't asked for a lot. It's usually been about $3,000. This year, there's multiple things that could be done, and we just lump them together instead of having a whole bunch of different things. It's just money toward museum projects, developing a new exhibit related to our power plant and water line that we're discovering as we're up doing the bike paths. They're looking to reprint some books, Santaquin Through the Years, and that's a book that is almost out of print, and we would like to print more and make it more available to the residents. That's something like that we could definitely put, rap tax on. Historical sites booklet. We've got these booklets that the Historic Preservation Committee's been working on that cost, $3 to $5 a piece, depending on, we haven't actually printed them yet. We'd like to print 500 of them and make them available, but again, that's $1,500. So all these things together with additional signage in the museum and so forth would be about $5,500. Talking with Annette and Katie over at the museum, they would appreciate any contribution from rap tax, but ideally around this range. Any questions on those? Okay. Yeah, Kyle.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Developing the cultural arts. Again, this is one that literally is something visible that when we go to vote in 10 years, these are things, and we haven't put anything yet, but there will be something on this that we're going to actually do some little things that say rap tax that will be permanent, and that's really our goal in the next month is to get all those out. But this is the first site, and we've already got a second site that Kyle's working on Center Street. We'd love to continue that type of a program where youth are learning how to paint murals, and Kyle has been fabulous as long as we can keep him. But even if Kyle eventually says, I need to take a sabbatical one year, that we're able to keep the program going and developing things that would be included in that is just ongoing arts in the parks. The Art in the Park program is, again, it's free. We've already almost sold out the entire summer.
Yeah.
And we're looking at several hundred spots that are already filled up, just like that.
Yeah.
So that's a program that that has been funded through rep tax. Art Festival, we usually take some of the money toward developing the art festival. Cross this out about the fire hydrants. I talked to Chief Lynn, and he actually said they really prefer, for safety reasons, not to have those different colors. That we could have future discussions, but for now, let's leave that one off the table. So, in general, developing 5,000. How is that money spent? It's usually the community services department that works with the art in the park, the art festival subcommittee, or not subcommittee, but committee, planning committee, and other groups, how we use that money. So there's a little bit of flexibility on developing cultural arts. So that's $5,000. Any thoughts or questions on that one?
I'm trying to remember how much money we put toward this last year.
I think it was
When was it used?
3,000.
Was it 3?
We did 3,000 last year. Well,
I think it was.
I will double check.
But there's more than one thing listed on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was multiple things, but
Yeah. But I was just thinking, having just been through that arts festival, that I don't know. I mean, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it. But it seems like it could definitely be a more successful event with a little bit more money put into it, obviously. But
I think
I
we
mean,
need
not that
more
it was
people to
bad.
come and buy stuff.
Yeah,
It's like the
you know,
biggest thing.
So the reports we got back from the vendors was that they all made money off of it, and they will be back next year.
oh,
So all the
Really?
vendors were happy.
Good.
What John and I discussed in our office after the event was over was it might be good to think about tightening the time up a little bit, just so that the bulk of people come all at once rather than
Yeah.
staggered throughout the whole day.
But
And
but for the sake of time, I'm gonna hold
Yeah.
off on this discussion. 'Cause
That's another
it's
day.
gonna take us in a wormhole on planning the next year's art festival.
yeah.
What we do need to plan, though, is if you want to put money toward the arts, this amount could increase
Yeah.
2 years ago it was $2,000. Last year it was actually 5,000.
John, I have a question.
Yes.
Does this include the concerts in the park?
Did we include concerts separately?
No.
I think this is including concerts as well. Yes, so that would be included in here.
Okay, so I know that part of that 3,000 is what we put towards the concerts in the park.
So this one is one that, again, the committee could say, hey, we want to put 10,000 toward this, and let's work out the details, bigger events and bigger concerts and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So maybe we should say minimum 5,000 here.
I'd
Yeah.
like to see more put towards it, but that's
A couple others that are a little bit more just kind of getting your and kind of catching your attention a little bit as far as residents, and we kind of put them in the realm of arts is our department bus does not look like this. This is someone else's. Ours is just white. And so the idea is you could wrap it with something that, wrapping is a little bit expensive, but it would be basically a walking billboard or driving billboard. We've got one quote, and we would obviously compare that and get competitive quotes, but it's about $3,550 to do some sort of a vehicle wrap. That's one that you definitely could put, supported by wrap tax money, and it would be driving around for years and years and years. So that's a full wrap at $3,550. So if you guys were to say, hey, we want to contribute $1,500 toward a project like this and do partial, that's an option as well. So any questions on that one?
I'm gonna go ahead and excuse myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Do you know how long a wrap like that generally lasts? Is it? I really don't know longevity on.
I would say you're gonna get
You can't really go more
7-10
than
years.
4 to 5 years, and then they start.
The sun starts to fade them.
They fade them, and then they start to adhere to the paint, and it's hard to get them
Okay.
off. So they say like 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a thought. Again, trying to be a little bit creative. This is a resident of Santaquin actually recommended this. This is a little bit different than the fire hydrants. Again, the fire hydrants, Chief Lynn actually gave me an example of how one group had painted one and it melded in with, it was green. And so they went and they had a fire and they couldn't see it, and they literally, there was more damage caused because they didn't know where the fire hydrant was. And so this one is actually working specifically with UDOT, and there's some examples of memos of understanding and so forth that we could utilize. This picture is down in up in North Logan or North Ogden, where you would literally, you could paint them, but what they did is literally just wrapped them. They wrapped them up with like a picture, so you could get a picture of the orchards or whatever, and you could literally just wrap them. Or we could have discussions with them on actually painting them. The cost is significantly different. A recommendation of, if you were to do one kind of by Macy's and one up kind of by Maverick, those are two very visible boxes. You would be looking at about $19.25 per box wrapped, so about $38.50. That's just 2 boxes. Again, it's public art wrapped. If you painted them, they would be significantly cheaper. It would just be a matter of coordinating where they have heat and all this with UDOT. Would they allow painting? Maybe, possibly. So, any thoughts or questions on this artistic one?
I'm all about the arts. I don't think this is the right way to spend the money. Just opinion.
Okay.
I think it could be spent elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so that is all the arts. Let's go ahead and come put our stickers down on the arts, and we're moving right along to the parks projects and the larger ones. Okay, so I think we're at pink. I'm gonna get out of your way. Oh, geez, I actually missed one.
Oh.
I'll explain before you guys put your stickers. I apologize. I apparently I've got 2 that I missed. I must have my presentation.
That it's like,
Come on over, guys, on this side.
wow, we got this.
Yeah, let me explain really quick.
That's
Okay.
You really want to.
Okay, let me actually mention 2 things to this group. I apologize. 2 that I didn't mention. One is actually enhancing general special events and adding new special events to our community. And we've actually put $7,000 there. So when we say enhancing, it's like we go out and we get thousands of dollars for Easter eggs, and we sponsor those, and we're still short because we have thousands of people moving in each year, right? So that's where the enhancement comes in. It's just adding to existing events and then starting new events that we literally do not have. In the city's budget this year, if it is approved, we have a part-time special event position that would be hired that would actually support Shauna Joe's position and really be just event planning. So we have some backup for that. So that is that one. And then the last one, I apologize, I think I had this in parks and my other thought is, because it's a facility, but we talked about a park pavilion, park stage, we've talked about a lot of things, and we've looked at hydraulic stages, we've looked at building temporary stages, we've looked at a whole lot of things. The vision is to eventually move to behind the city hall and do a nice stage like this. So the idea could be, let's start putting some money aside for a big stage pavilion like this. Again, it's a big project. We cannot build it this year. Even if we said we want to put all the money toward it, the park's not ready. And so this would be one that would be a multi-year funder that you could say, hey, I want to put $10,000 next year. Does that make sense on that one?
Do we have any idea about how much that would cost?
I would guess it's going to be 100,000 plus. When I looked at even the hydraulic stages that you connect to a trailer and then it just drops down and you've got a stage, the cheapest was $60,000.
I would love something that's covered though, because I brought my electric piano to the art festival and I'm so ready to take it down. Like terrified. I even brought a tent to cover it, but it wasn't tall enough with the stage we put it on.
The one caveat with this is we don't know how many years out. So again, you can start saving money toward it if you really felt like it, but again, it would just be delayed because we're
never know who's gonna buy into it next
So
Right.
is that a
So-
movable stage or a
This-
permanent
this
stage?
would be a
Yeah.
permanent stage at a park that's not yet developed for that
It
purpose.
can more or less act like a amphitheater type thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
The
You look at Payson, they're
like the petite.
neat, awesome, gets used all the time.
So this one might be jumping the gun a little bit. It might be
The only problem I think about, I love that, but if we throw all of our money or bunch towards it and then there's a new committee next year, they can say that's what we wanted, but they can still choose to spend the money elsewhere.
But if we see that this is something extremely important, city funds, correct me if I'm wrong, can go to help support something like
Yeah,
this
our
that would be
impact
mutually
fees
funded by
definitely.
impact fees and by our
Yeah.
recreation.
Combine them.
it's definitely something, again, just know that this one would not be built in the next year. It would be a multi-year.
When is the city hall supposed to be?
That's a good question. Probably next summer.
Next summer?
Yeah.
It'll probably be about
I'm
a
just
year.
curious.
So, anyway, I apologize that I'm gonna go get my next ones in order while you guys are doing this. Drop those in, Dave, you can't put them on the.
I'll
the-
put 'em right
the
where I
one.
want.
He's already got them on top, that's hilarious. Okay. Hey, that was much quicker. Let's look at. Great.
Do you want me to take down your orange ones?
I'm Alan Briggs, Mountain Land Supply.
You wanna go grab them?
Yeah.
Just bring them over. Let's put them in order.
Yeah, that's what.
Nice to put a
Thank you,
face
and then I'll have you
Yeah,
get the pink
yeah.
one.
So you're overall
Well, the
all
parks.
filled.
Yeah, parks and then I'm over facility maintenance too, so
So
on buildings
restrooms
too.
and all that fun stuff.
Yep. Is Mountain Line gonna do their golf tournament this year?
Always, yeah. For the municipal one?
Yeah.
Yes. So it'll be at, I don't know if we're doing it at Gladstone or if we're doing it at,
Do you need like a heads up that we want a team on that?
no, but you telling me, I'll make sure on your list.
Okay. I used to let Joey know.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen him in a while, so
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and rotate
I
back
used to see him in rec all the time,
But
but I don't see him anymore.
yeah,
Be here all night.
yeah, no, I will, I'll pass it along, make sure we get.
Yeah,
you
that'd be
all
sweet. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
They
it's
do a
fun
good
one.
job.
It is a fun one.
We'll just do some general recommendations as long as I think it's okay with actual.
So you guys are at Dixie, it's now Utah Utah Technical. What's it called now? Utah Tech, right? I think that's so lame. I lived in Ivins for 5 years, and I was like, started to become, Dixie fan. And when I heard they were changing, I was like, that's so lame.
Lame.
And I know all the students have too have heard of just like, no fun. Yeah. It just sounds better. It sounds more like like a college, right? You're like, I went to Dixie State, not
Yeah.
or Utah Technical, whatever. I don't know.
Okay. Perfect. You're excited to get to the next section, I know.
I am. That's all. You know where my sticks
So your last
Okay,
name?
perfect.
Right?
Jorgensen. Yeah.
Are you the one that did the for what was it, music competition or
Yeah.
music something?
Yeah.
I know.
We saw that
I know, I
from
played
Castaways because they post a little thing about Dalen playing within their work.
Yeah.
And I was telling my wife she teaches violin and piano, and I was like,
Yeah.
dude, how do we get involved with something like this?
Yeah,
So,
if she wants to help
with
out,
her
I'm
students and-
making
or
like
have her
a.
help out,
At least
she'd
I'll
love
be
to.
able to
Well,
see
I
it.
would
see
love
what
help
it
with
is.
advertising. That was the hardest
Yeah.
thing. Like I made a bunch
can
of
choose
stuff
the
to take
color
around,
if
but
they
then it's so
want.
hard to get
It is
everywhere.
so
Stick to mine.
So yeah, what's her email address? And I will.
Okay,
Make her
let's,
part of my
let's
committee.
go ahead and we're gonna jump in the third section. You guys are doing great, thank you. And we do appreciate, you guys represent the residents of Santaquin. And if we bring ideas to you that maybe aren't aligned with what you're feeling needs to be done, that's why you're on this committee. So we really do appreciate your thoughts and your suggestions and your recommendations. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna tackle about 2, 4, 6, 8 more that are kind of more in the realm of parks and facilities, places. This first one is ball field fence topper. You see the kind of the yellow tubing across the top of the fences. You've seen that at
Piano and
Centennial Park.
violin.
This is recommended to go over. Is it the three baseball
This will cover
fences?
all the remaining 5 fences we have. We have 2 brand new fences, well, they're a year old up at Orchard Hills, and then we just finished the 2 new fields down here at the Santaquin fields, and it'll also cover the one that's like 10 years old.
I have a question. Did
Yeah.
money go towards that last year?
It did not.
It went
We
toward
did.
fencing,
We
not the
funded.
topper.
No, we did the fence topper. I swear we did.
It was not approved last year.
Yeah.
It was just fencing
Oh.
because
I was
we've
kinda
been
against it.
using it. I can
Okay.
show you last year's thing. It was not approved.
Okay. All right.
if-
I just
and-
remember
yeah.
seeing that, and I was thinking
So
for some reason.
it's being brought back.
Okay.
This might actually be the 3rd time because
It's
we
brought
did.
in.
Well, we got a little bit for one of the fields. I think Callaway.
Okay. Maybe
at
that's
one
what I
point.
was
And it
thinking.
might have been that a couple years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, this last year's just been fencing.
Okay.
So
Any other questions for Brian on that one?
pretty straightforward.
Okay. The next one, now I gotta just jump down, I apologize. The next one is bleachers. This one can be looked at multiple ways. I know we've brought bleachers up before. We've looked at the maintenance side of replacing bleachers. We've also looked at we need to expand bleachers. Our rodeo grounds, we actually go and we borrow from surrounding communities for orchard days. The idea of starting to purchase more bleachers that we use throughout the year at events and especially the rodeo is kind of the thought here. The idea would be 4 to 5 new bleachers. They're about $1,500 a piece.
Yeah, with shipping, they'll probably be closer around 2,000 each once we get them shipped in. But we have 3 sets that are honestly dangerous to have out there. That we have one's missing and a complete bottom rail. So this would just help replace a few of those, plus give us one extra that we would have to not go get from Payson, which would be nice. So
Don't you think we could use those other ones for orchard days potentially temporarily? So
yeah,
they would
if we-
end up giving us more bleachers.
yeah, if we we might be able to tear one apart and use it to replace the other ones too to help fix them. But yeah.
Any other questions on bleachers? Okay. That's where that event one right there was. Slipped in. Last year we did provide some tables for Centennial Park. These are the new ones. As you know, there's a lot of tables that fit under that pavilion, and we were not able to replace all of them. So the idea here is that we would finish replacing those tables for about $9,000. So Centennial would have 100% new tables.
Yep, and that would buy 7 of them and include the shipping as well. I'd like to just do them all because they charge us a lot on freight. It's almost like $1,500 just for freight, and that's going to be the same as if we order one or if we just order all 7 of them. So
How much is per table?
they
Just
are.
curious.
Sorry, I had it pulled up.
Sorry, I was just curious. The
Yeah.
1,500.
No, you're
shipping.
good.
Do you remember how many we bought last year?
They're so heavy.
We-
Like, they're hard for just
I want to say we bought 6. One of them though was a a handicap one, so that it has an extra line. It was more money. It was a little bit more than those. So these end up being about right close to 1,100 a piece.
Okay.
We approved 5,600 last year for tables, so this would be
Yeah.
more.
And everything's gone up in price, as you can
Everything.
imagine.
with
Yeah.
with the idea that again we finish off this pavilion, there would be
And
no
they
old
look
tables.
so good, and then those old tables are just kind of
Yeah, those old tables were
there.
bad.
But yeah,
The ones that are up at Theodore Allen Park, are they also purchased here with this money, or were those?
No, that was a
different?
separate grant.
Okay.
There's a garbage can and 2 tables that were funded with a Utah Valley Municipal Recreation Grant. So, okay, any
Yep.
questions about this? Let's see. Our roping club that utilizes and helps us utilize the arena and helps us with Orchard Days Rodeo each year has mentioned to us that the chutes really could use some replacement. There's actually multiple chutes, and the thought being, I think with this being $36,000 is again maybe potentially looking at a multi-year option of putting some aside this year or replacing. I don't know if the details of if it's something that you could replace half of them right now, or if you would just want to wait and just do them all. At
they would
once,
probably want to just do them all at once.
as far as the excavation and the
When you start tearing them
Dismantling.
out, yeah, it's gonna be kind of a pain.
So, any questions about rodeo shoots? Okay. This one is an actual hexagon pavilion. This is a picture of one that's in Nephi at their Canyon View. As you can see there, it holds. Oh, I don't remember if that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If
Probably.
it's 7 to 9 tables in there. So it's a smaller pavilion. The recommendation here is that would be put up at Theodore Allen Park, as we've been making renovations up there and adding an outdoor playground, fishing areas, disc golf, so forth. That people are kind of saying, again, we've got 2 tables up there, but is there a place that we could actually eventually even run electricity and have more of a gathering reservable? That's kind of the idea here.
Is it a possibility to just fund that whole thing in 1 year instead of separating it for 2?
It is a possibility. Yep, that could be a big project that could be fully funded in 1 year and built in 1 year.
Does this include the tables underneath it though?
It does not include
Okay.
tables.
So you're gonna include another 10,000.
So, that's a
for
good point.
tables.
That's a good point.
So how much did you say? for
It's
that?
$72,000, and that includes the concrete.
Okay, but tables would be more.
So
Is
it,
that-
it could be, yeah, you could be looking at 82,000. That's a very good point. Giving you some additional tables in there to fill that.
They're really tight depending how big they are. You really can only fit 1 table on each side of that. So
that
people
one?
can just on see how they're situated between the poles,
In
so
between
that
the
people can
pillar.
fit
Yeah.
in between them and move. They're just really tight, so kind of just 6 tables.
There's different sizes. The larger you go with rectangles, you're just adding
Yeah.
significant amount of money. So this one was the most affordable, but we could definitely look at larger and more rectangular as well.
Do we know, like right now, how many people are using Theodore Allen Park? I mean, every time I've gone up there with my kids, there's a few people maybe around the pond fishing, but that's about it.
That's what I was thinking. But
Something like this would very much encourage people to go there,
but
Yeah.
holding
Sarah
family
said-
parties or birthday
That's
parties
true,
or
if
other
you-
things.
if
that
somewhere to
They
go.
need
And
a
I
place
hot
to
right
stage.
now.
Yeah, it's very
It's
hot.
hot,
Yeah.
Well, and I've been up there, and there's been people that have driven down from American Fork to go there
Yeah.
fishing because there's good fishing there. That's a secret.
And not a ton of people.
I-
So we encourage people, then we get too many people.
We've gone there to have a family party, but you know, it's really hard to find anywhere that you can like even just finding a table to
Right.
sit down and
Yeah,
do
I think something
as far as-
covered and where it's
Like
really
that.
an exposed area, there's not a lot of shade.
Yeah.
I think something like that up there would make a huge difference
Yeah.
to the park because it's like there's a place to gather
Yeah.
for people and then things to do around the outside.
Do you have an idea where you would put that
Yeah,
there?
our master plan has it when you pull in just on the left side, so right down the hill. It's kind of right down from the playground there.
Okay.
That's the spot that would probably make the most sense.
And this is probably jumping the gun, but I'm mentioning that there's not, any shade. Is there? I'm sure there's probably a plan to like plant trees and stuff up there and have something like that eventually. That would encourage, I think, a lot more people to go there.
The master plan is pretty extensive as far as adding an amphitheater, additional water, shade, grass to a certain extent in certain areas. So this is just kind of chunking away at one,
Yeah.
where the bulk of the money with park impact fees the last couple of years has gone toward the Harvest View Sports Park, where it's such a large facility. We're trying to do some other improvements just inch by inch. Disc golf was put in here 2 years ago.
Also with the playground.
The playground was
Rap
funded
tax.
through RAP tax
Yes.
money. Yeah, and that's one that we don't have a sign up yet that we're going to get up here in the next month, specifically at the playground saying RAP tax funded.
Just to comment again, the council's been looking at that ever since that's been built up there. And we feel that the issue is, and the complaints we get, is obviously there's no shade. It's discussed, it's looked at, what's the best options, how do you go? Anywhere from, obviously trees, we've talked about trees, but also putting in picnic tables, covered picnic tables around the pond and stuff like that. So I think anything that can bring shade up there, I think would start drawing more people. But right now, on a hot day, you wouldn't want to be up there anyway. So
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, great insights. Just to give you an example, one more thing at that site, like we've got that playground. There was a matching set of swings that's got multiple different swings. Not a regular swing, but it's like different types of outdoor adventure playground. Equipment is so expensive that one piece installed is about $20,000. So just keep that in mind as we talk about. We don't often bring a lot of things because they're just so expensive. But keep that in mind. A couple other projects that we've said that it would be great for RAP tax to be associated with these projects. They're highly likely to be funded through other funding sources through the city, like park impact fees. Prospector View Park and Trailhead, again, is something that's going up. It's going to happen. Could RAP tax be part of that? Definitely. Again, just the legacy and the sign up there of this was helped, constructed, even if it was just a small portion, kind of like the basketball court, that RAP tax didn't fund the whole court, but part of it. But the residents need to know that the RAP tax money went to that project.
Where is this?
So that's an example of even if you just contributed that.
This is going in. It's not there yet.
Okay, this
The
is the bike
bottom.
park.
Canyon.
The bike park.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. All right.
So yeah, Trailhead, eventually Trails, a bridge that would cross the river, and Trails going north and south. So other thoughts or questions on this? Okay, and then the last but not least, Dave, is there? Oh no, there's a couple more, Dave. Dave has long been, and I apologize. I keep saying Dave.
Like that.
Councilmember Hathaway, I apologize. In the meeting, I should be saying that.
you're okay.
Has long been a proponent of bringing a skate park to our community for diversity. And so it is a project that could be, if city council determined that was the priority, could be funded through park impact fees. Again, the idea here is this committee could potentially donate some money toward building of a skate park as well. Dave, other thoughts or insights on that?
Just so you know that I'm getting very close. The skate park, I'm gonna say is coming.
Where would we put it?
That's kind of the
The hard part.
And that's
The
one we're going to
iffy part
direct
at
that
this point
discussion for
still,
another meeting
but-
as well. 'Cause that could really take us off kilter. But
Well, I'm just curious because I've thought
Right.
about a lot of places and I can't think of like.
there will be a
where.
lot of community input and a lot of input before a site is chosen. Let's.
I know, I think the majority of the council wants to stay in the core though. It'll be in the core because there was an idea of doing it out there at the soccer fields, but the problem is would you want a bunch of kids going down that road to get out there? And I don't think so. So, yeah, the where is still in the
Okay.
toss up, but
But
I
could
think
the RAP tax money be?
I think it would be good because once that's built, here we are talking about having a name on there, and that would be even if it's a small part, right?
Just don't take any more of my Centennial Park away.
Okay. So
Gosh, we need some grass.
Thank you, Sarah. There was the stage. That's where the stage was at. The last one, it kind of reverts back and giving a little bit
No,
of the history there.
the stage was by the city office building, right?
Correct.
Okay,
That's-
so not Santaquin.
Correct. And again, the city's still going through the master plan process, and that's why that stage is so far out, and City Hall would need to be developed before the park would be developed behind it. But the other thing is this committee felt that a walking trail around Centennial would be a great idea, and put $12,300 toward the project last year, and said, let's just save it. It would be great if it works. One of the challenges with that is it's a great idea. We all believe it. As long as we continue to park vehicles there for Orchard Days, it's hard to put something there that is going to be driven over. Let me rephrase that. There's certain materials that could be damaged if we put those down. And Brian's going to show you some materials that would be great if we weren't driving over them consistently. If you paid a lot more money, you could get concrete or asphalt. But I'm going to turn the time over to Brian to talk a little bit about this. Again, this is something that I just want to clarify that we would not be able to do this year.
Yeah.
This is not something that we would be able to, even if it was fully funded, this is not a site that we could do this project. But we want to bring it up and discuss it because it could be something that, if you like the idea, again, you could keep saving some money toward it.
And this is for a trail?
Yes. So what this is the the pour and play stuff they put at parks or at playgrounds that takes away from the wood chips. This company has taken that and then they mix it with that aggregate, and it's a really good walking trail. And they can put this right on top of the compacted soil. So remember we talked about the asphalt trail, how we wanted it 4 feet, but the asphalt company would only do 8 feet. They can do whatever width we want with this, and the only problem with it, like John said, is you can't drive on it with big vehicles, and the rodeo would absolutely destroy this stuff. So,
But if it was asphalt, then they could drive on it.
yes, but the asphalt's going to be a lot more expensive by the time they do that as well.
I thought it was like 80,000 was the quote last year. I'm sure it increased,
Right,
but
right. And so, I mean, this is an option. We could do this. The good thing with this one is it's porous.
Off
Oh,
of it?
what was that?
Can you keep vehicles off of it? Like, I guess bikes are okay?
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
not-
Bikes, lawnmowers will be fine driving over this. Just
Oh, okay.
Have you been to the rodeo?
Uh-huh.
And they park everybody on the park. I
Yeah.
think that's what you guys are
and
saying,
I would
right?
love to get that off of the park. That takes me months to recover from when we do that. But until then, this is an option. We could still go with the asphalt. It's just then we're putting an 8-foot path through where this we could do a 4, and this bid was for 6, so it's even a little bit higher because it was for 6 foot wide. We could cut it down and do 4. They say ADA requires 6 feet, but yeah. Anyway,
Just
this is an option.
just some food for thought here on the process out there. Just so you guys know, the council has been trying to find an alternative for parking there. There's a couple options. One is private, obviously, and the other one's school. But I'm just going to tell you that could be several years
Yep.
down the road. So as you think about that, there's going to be parking on the park.
Right.
Unfortunately for Brian.
And to what Councilman Hathaway's saying is, again, is this something that we're trying to save, $10,000 a year toward, that in 3 or 4 years, when there's maybe new people in this committee and the project's still not funded, is it the right time to fund this? We wanted to bring it up because we had, set aside some money last year.
Yeah.
What are your
So,
thoughts?
just question. I mean, of course, I wasn't here last year when this was discussed, but the Centennial Park what's the purpose of the path? Just to create a walking path around, or is it for
Yeah.
exercise, or?
Tons of people walk around it, but it's gravel on the
Uh-huh.
outside, and it's like impossible to push a stroller. There's a lot of townhouses,
Right.
And
There's just no
things like
sidewalk.
that.
No
or
sidewalk.
anything.
Yeah. So, and it's right across the street from the school. Like, it's the most used park in town, and having a trail around it would
Right.
be nice for, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure you want curb and gutter, so people stay off your grass, but
Yeah, curb and gutter is
Um,
probably even farther out than
curb and gutter and the actual sidewalk to go around it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just curious what it was for.
So those are the thoughts. So again, we wanted to bring it up, knowing that again, it's not something that can be totally funded next year. But having said that, do you feel comfortable putting stickers on our last section here with the kind of the park
do it.
facilities? Come on down. That's the last section,
Take some from my other
and then
ones.
we can
Well, I want it.
section 4, the last section. You can disregard Dave's orange stickers that he's already put on there. No,
Oh,
just
that was
joking.
smart. Dang it.
Here, take. Just give me the orange ones. To finish it out.
So now you don't want this?
Oh no, we're getting this. It's happening.
So some
I
of
just
the,
don't think we sticker on.
if you want to add money to it, you can. It'd be more of a token payment.
We're getting it.
But again, if you've got a
Well, we
130.
did put money towards it already, right?
We
Like
did.
5,000
Oh,
from last
we
year.
did last year, so the sign will go up no
The
matter
sign will
what.
go up.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
That's right. We did 6,000 at the end of the year as a replacing that fence. So
I wanted to ask this before, but how often is that shoot equipment used? Is it more?
traditionally the Orchard Day rodeos. So
That's all.
that's
mainly. I don't know if they ever do any.
But it's like the
just the
best
rodeo.
attended city event
Right.
of anything.
Right.
And just so you know, one of them's gotta be fixed this year anyway, so just food for thought.
I don't even think. I want to put them all.
Okay, I'll come run and do this, but if it's not something we can do right now.
So I don't want to make you feel bad, but when Spanish Fork does this exercise, it's like $1 million to.
I know.
Yeah, right.
Now you can
Right.
pretty well say,
$2
let's
billion.
build a new.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
That new dealership's gonna help.
Yeah, we're moving down the right direction, but again, just think, last year we were at 58,000.
Yes,
So
I
we're
remember thinking when we
moving
started it, we'd
significantly.
get
Sorry,
more
sorry, no, you're
than
okay.
$1,000.
You put a sticker on my back, what do you do?
I'm gonna cover up my own.
Covering up your old one.
Oh, it
Don't
should
get
count
John
for you.
upset.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Hattie, I'm gonna have you grab those. Thank you. And then these are
Eeny,
the.
meeny, miny, mo.
Can't decide between this and the check, rip it in half.
Yeah, half on each. I like it.
And I have a question about the pavilion at the Ted Allen Pond. What if there were smaller pavilions that were around the fishing pond and with like one table and had a couple of them? Would that be like way more money because it's
There's already fishing. There's already cement pads with picnic tables around the pond already.
yeah, but like a covered thing.
So if we're gonna do something like that, I would recommend just getting. They do the, like, I'm sure you've seen it at other parks or even at the Payson Pool where they have the fabric shades that they pull on the big poles.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost recommend that just to cover the ones that we already have existing rather than. I think, and anytime we have the park rentals and stuff, they like the big, like the bigger the pavilion, that's where everybody seems to go. The ones that have like
Yeah.
one table underneath them, very rarely have people underneath them. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
I
we
just
already-
know like when I go, it's mostly people around there
Yeah.
fishing
I think
and
if we
stuff.
get those
And there's a lot of people that
individual-
walk around it, but
Are they affordable? Because last year when we were talking about those shade things, they got voted down because they were too.
Expensive.
They're
For the
really-
baseball.
they're really
So
expensive.
those ones like that come from like Big T Recreation, yeah, I know that Salem, they just make their own and they put plywood on them and they paint them, and that's something that we could easily do.
I need to have a different
Well,
spreadsheet. We're
in
okay.
theory, we could easily
Sorry.
do.
So
It's kind of like the fence
I need
project.
to be able
we
to be
could
adding to my
easily do
spreadsheet.
that ended up taking us
So
3 months,
I'll
but
just unplug.
that's something we could do if that's what we want to do. I think that would be great. Cover those
That would be
picnic
great.
tables and
I'd like to see at least some of those covered, because I think people would use them. I mean, you don't want to sit up there on that table.
in the sun.
Where is the table at? I know there's,
There's a whole bunch.
benches.
there's a
tables
couple
all
just
the
as
way
you walk
around.
around the.
Okay, I know there's benches around it.
There's
Right.
benches and I think 2 or 3 picnic tables.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our sticker activity. This might help us with just, I'm on my spreadsheet here, I'm just gonna keep a running tally, and then once it's all done with all of your comments, I'll put it back on the screen so that it's not changing constantly. This might help you in your prioritization. So starting going back with the recreation, the item that had the most dots was the ice machine. And so Kyle, I don't know if you want to try to gauge the committee on each item, and then we just, or how did we do that last year, where we just basically were kind of giving some, you had mentioned, is there kind of all in favor of adding this temporarily on the spreadsheet, and then the
think
ones
that's-
without stickers
yeah.
just stayed to the end.
I'm trying to remember if it was Hattie who was kind of keeping a running total of like how much we'd funded.
I'll keep it
that's
on
what
my
we had.
spreadsheet here, but
Hmm.
as far as just the discussion, so the first one is ice machine for 3,000. I don't know if you want to just do a quick temporary vote.
What? So do we want to talk about just in general all over everything, or
We could do that, and then we could say, okay, if you want to start with a different color first. I'm just trying to direct
Yeah.
the conversation so
Yeah.
we don't go another 2 hours. And I don't mean that jovially, just
So
realistically.
let's do
that
the
there's-
big ones first,
You
and
wanna talk-
then we can
because
fill
then
it
we
in
can
with the
fill
little
it in
ones.
with little things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
So let's start with the green stickers. The one that did receive the most stickers, and this one even got ripped in half, so it was like a double points, is the actual pavilion.
Mhm.
So is there some discussion for adding the full 72,000 plus 10? 80?
Yeah.
I would rather just do it and pay for the full
I would like to suggest that we put 82,000 so we can also get
the
tables.
tables. Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's really not very
Yeah.
usable without
Yeah.
the tables.
Can I ask, does that include excavation? Is that us excavating that and forming it and pouring the concrete?
I know a
Brian, you're
guy.
really good at that. I heard.
I hate it, but I'll do it.
I am pretty sure that's included.
I will volunteer. I did the concrete in the last pavilion I did last time, just like that one. I'm happy to do it.
I'll double check on that one.
You
Okay.
get
Yeah,
materials,
see if
we'll
there's-
get laborers.
Yeah. And then we can get some of the wood homemade covers for some of the other tables. But let's put a lot to that. Is my
So
thing.
what are we saying that
So
pavilion
Kyle,
would
maybe
cost
maybe a vote
with tables?
with each one, and then we just add it, and then we can just keep going, and then we'll pull this back.
Okay.
Or unless there's other discussion.
So you're saying we want to like vote on each
So we'll
thing like
see.
right now, like say yay or nay,
Or
we
you're
wanna
just
do
directing
that
me,
one?
let's put this on the spreadsheet for now, and then we'll come back to the vote later and say
I
we
make a
vote all of
motion
them.
to add
Okay.
this to the spreadsheet.
Hey, it sounds like there's plenty of people. I just
Yeah.
want to jump the gun and.
I'm good with that. One just kind of.
Okay, the next one that received quite a bit of stickers was the tables at Centennial Park. And again, even though those are tables, we won't put wrap tax on the tables, but we will do some sort of signage that will be permanent there at the pavilion.
Okay.
That one
Ace.
needs to get finished
So
up.
that one's 9,000. That way, it is when you see the two different tables.
Yeah.
The new ones look so much better. At the art
Yeah, oh,
festival,
yeah.
it was quite astonishingly different, right? So 9,000. Okay. I like this. This is going great. The next one is bleachers. Are we comfortable adding new bleachers? Is that, or do we jump to the stickers on the next ones
What if we did like the top 2 of each
and then come back?
Yeah.
thing and
Okay.
then come back around?
Let's look at the pink one. The most stickers with the pink one were the stage, Now that one doesn't have a dollar
Well,
contributed
that one
to
won't
it.
be this year,
It's honest to goodness, it's probably 3 years out.
and it could happen anyways without our help.
Yeah.
Potentially,
Possible.
whenever the city gets to the point of saying, "Hey, let's develop the park," but
Right.
yeah, you've got to literally build new city hall, maybe some reduction of older buildings, and then the park development would probably happen in that order, right?
Yeah.
So it might
Yeah.
be jumping the gun a little bit. Maybe that's
Where
one
it's a
that
few
comes
years
back
out.
next year.
I think we need that. I think that's like a gathering place for everyone in the city. I think it can be used for lots of things. Like that's needed. We could hold on to that and kind of see how the project's coming along and bring it back in the future.
Quick question on that, because if we put something like we put money toward the trails last year, I can't remember how much we did, but is that money included in this money right now?
Yeah, the 12,300 from last year, like let's say it doesn't even go to that project again, would just come back into the pool of 130,000. This money would be in the pool of whatever's brought back next year, and you can determine to keep it there. So it's really just a matter of saying, hey,
Yeah.
we don't want to spend it now because we really think that it could go to something next year that we're not ready
Yeah.
for right now.
I'm thinking as long as, I'd be fine putting money toward that stage if we're like able to kind of make it very known, because obviously we don't know who's going to be on that committee and whether they're going to want to just use that money or not. I I don't know. That's the gamble, I guess, right?
And it's kind of like city council members. It's really hard to commit things unless it's
Right.
a long-term loan. It's really hard to commit ideas to a group that's going to be there in 4 years
Yeah.
after, so kind of the same concept. Do you want to entertain a discussion of maybe putting 10,000 aside, kind of like we did last year?
What do you think? I mean, is that something that? Because
I
I think we all want it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's so hard
Yeah.
to figure that out.
I-
But I feel like
I'd
there's
rather
enough money.
spend the money now.
Well, I think
Use
like
it on
it's
something.
good to have at least one big thing every time, and I'm fine donating to some smaller maybe things needed or saving some of it, but I wouldn't want it to take away from getting something. But that's personal.
We can definitely bring it back next year. I mean, it can be with a better idea of where we're at a year from now.
I mean, we all put lots of stickers on it. We
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
idea. Is it just the right time? I think is.
Yeah.
I don't
And,
think it's
and
right
maybe
then.
as Santaquin continues to grow and there's more money of this wrap tax, that maybe it's not going to be as much of an issue later on, where like if we do have, in 3 years we might have 200,000 in wrap tax money that we can spend or whatever, that's something that
And
could be more easily funded.
One benefit in a year is the master plan will be completed, really letting you know where that's going to be at which park, right? That'll have community input coming in the next few months. We'll also be able to have better price projections of what that can look like.
Sure.
So I think that's probably a good idea. The next item that had the most stickers was the museum at $5,500. Are we comfortable adding that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, where that first one we didn't actually take money, was developing the cultural arts for 5,000. So that was the next one in line there. Are we good with 5,000, or do you want to entertain the discussion of adding more than 5,000 to developing the cultural arts?
I would be interested in adding more to that.
I would too.
I wouldn't even if we have enough, I wouldn't mind putting 10,000, doubling it.
We're just running
Because I
out of
think-
money.
Well, if we're doing that whole
Well,
pavilion,
if we
true.
don't do the bleachers and we do, we're not
So-
there yet.
So right now
You're at 90s.
we're at 96,000 without adding cultural arts. So we could, if you did
Oh,
cultural arts, that takes you to a 106,000
If you added 10,000,
Mhm.
if you doubled it,
if you don't.
what is our total? 154.
30.
130 is
That's
the
what
how
amount.
is
much all of
this?
these would be if we could
Oh,
do everything.
134.
Mm-hmm.
154.
You said right.
mhm.
How much did you say the arts, like developing the arts, was that 5,000 last year?
It was 5,000 last year.
Okay.
I just know that like the concerts in the park, I really liked that and I thought it was really good and I would love to keep doing that, but I know that it was pretty pitiful as far as what we were able to pay people to come and perform. you know, it's kind of almost, I hate to say it, but it's kind of insulting.
Is
to-
that part of that
to
then?
groups. Yeah.
The concerts in the park is
concerts in
part
the
of
park,
that?
Yeah.
Art in the park,
The arts
Did Lena
festival,
help?
the mural, like
Did
all
Lena
mural,
help
all
with
that.
that? Like
you could
getting
very
people to
easily
come?
spend $10,000. There wouldn't
So-
be a challenge.
Yeah.
It was-
What? Oh, sorry. I was because I didn't know that because I love the concerts in the park a lot. I just didn't see that on here, so I didn't know it was like included.
that
How
was-
much did we
I
spend on
apologize,
that
I did
last
not-
year?
That was a typo.
5,000.
We spent 5,000 just
Yeah,
on that.
It's the developed cultural arts for
We-
the whole
we-
park.
But it was
used-
like all of it together,
All
which
of
I
it.
think
We had
this
all
was
of it together
nowhere near
last year.
enough, Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It
So
was-
that's how much we spent last year. It was just hard.
Oh, but last year we had arts in the park and the sports in the park as separate things.
Separate. That's what I was wondering. I
So
thought we
arts
had
in
them
the park
separate.
was like 1,000 last year.
So
You
so
mean
we're not
the
requesting money
art
for the summer in the
festival?
park because
No.
we already
Oh,
bought all
that-
the equipment
right.
for it.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can
Like
offer
15
that
for
without needing
kids.
more money. So the art though we have to
Oh.
buy new supplies every year, and so that's
Okay.
why we lump it in.
Oh, okay.
So
But-
at least doing like 6,000 then.
But that was separate last year on the thing, I think. So, okay.
So that's a good point. So it was 6,000 last year if it was art in the park, and
So this is like a cut compared to last
I
year.
didn't look at it that way, but that's a good point. So if you would like, I could put 10,000 temporarily, and we can come back and discuss it.
And
How about
Do you want to
8?
split it like 7 or 8?
7,500
Yeah.
or
Let's do
something like
8.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's do that, and we'll come back. Parts.
It is hard to get. I don't know. It's hard to know how much to pay people to do those concerts in the park and the.
Well, Shauna Joe had kind of looked at that and this is what I can get for this amount of money, but it was mostly people that would almost volunteer
Yeah.
to come as opposed to, because she said it was insulting to say, well, we'll give you $100, and they're like,
Like that pays maybe
no
for the
thanks.
gas.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
all the
wouldn't
setup
pay
of
for the gas
equipment.
now, yeah.
So I mean, I feel like it was a really good environment with the, you know, with the food trucks and the market and the concerts. I just think that it could, I think adding a little more money into stuff like that could really
I think
enhance it.
500 was a more reasonable offer from what she.
I think
had
it's good to know too. We're
looked at.
tripling the amount of concerts in the park we're doing this year.
Yeah.
We
That's a
did
good
like 3, 4, 5 last year. We're doing like 10 to 13 this year.
And again, the more money you put in, the bigger the
Better.
band, or the more
Right.
renowned.
Well, if we're tripling the number of
Yes.
concerts, but we're leaving the money the same,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
The basketball courts.
I've got 8,000 here. Do you want to take it up to 10?
Did you go to one of
Should
those
we-
concerts?
Is the city budget
I'm
kind of
happy
covering
with
some
8.
of that, the concert and park and stuff,
I don't know.
or is that all dependent on this?
With our operations this year, we do, and I don't have it off the top of my head, but we are putting a little bit toward concerts. I just don't remember how much it is, and I don't remember exactly how much each band.
What I'm saying is like, so they're happening whether this passes or not, just this might go to adding to it, not providing it. or no?
Both, because Sean and Joe's having to book people now, hoping that the money's there
Oh, I get you.
in anticipation. So, okay, let's do this to keep the conversation going. I'm going to go ahead and put 8. Let's discuss other things, and we'll come back, and that could be an item that we
Let's
end
do
up
that.
increasing if the group so feels.
Okay.
Recreation, again, these receive dots, but doesn't necessarily mean that they are still a priority. Is the ice machine received the most dots for 3,000? Is that still a priority?
Seems like we all thought so.
Just for my thought, to me, there's just too many uses for it. You might, I mean, it's good for a lot of things. I mean, it's not like
I'm not
one
complaining.
department's going to use it.
It's one of those one-time purchases that will last for
Right.
years, right? Okay, perfect. The next one there was the community outreach app. Was there still some desire to try that for 1 year? In all of our advertising, we could definitely put supported by, brought to you by, and if it works well, people will remember it even that much better. Like, I finally know when registration is for soccer.
Yeah.
Right?
All of the activities and the arts and everything that we've been discussing, that could definitely be a huge proponent to getting people to come to everything that we have on here.
Advertising is like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Okay.
So I think anything we could do to
Okay.
make that happen.
So let's add that. Let's see where that takes us to. Yep. Yep. 112,300. So do you want to keep going down the sticker, or do you want to have a discussion at this point? We've got about 19,000 left. That's not budgeted.
Well, so we've done 2 from each at
Right.
this point,
If
right?
I could review the next one in order, and you could kind of.
Yeah.
The next one was pickleball for $2,000. Pickleball equipment.
Well, if we're putting in the courts, I mean, I assume most people are going to bring their own equipment.
I
But
think pickleball's huge
Yeah.
that you can never get, that most people just have that.
And are is that including those little racks?
Including the racks.
Yeah, so I'd go for that.
I like the rack idea because that's with
Yeah.
having the courts there.
Mhm.
It's the organization of who's up next. That's the
Yeah.
best thing because it's always like somebody's getting frustrated. You've been on the court too long or something. So if you can have a way of saying who's next in line, who's on the
Yeah.
court next.
So
I think it's great.
is that a tentative yes then on the
Yeah.
that money?
I think so.
Okay, let's go to the second sticker on a different color. Let's go to the pink for the next one on the pink.
What if we just saved the rest of it?
How much?
That's like 17,000.
There's banner holders.
I'm curious with the pickleball
2,000?
equipment though. Like, I don't know, is it something that we need to get like paddles and everything, or just
Or is that just
the
racks that
holders? Do
you
we
were-
want to put that 2,000, or do we want to just put 1,000?
I'll be
or
honest, I think just getting the racks without the equipment would be a better idea.
Mhm.
But and then maybe, you know, depending on how the pickleball courts are being used, if we feel like in the future that we want to fund equipment, then we could do it next year. But I don't know. Considering that they won't even be
Well, the
functioning until
pickleballs
like
are
Orchard
gonna be
days, but
crowded.
they are. But I'm just saying.
yeah,
that
but
they're-
most people already have that, I
Right.
think,
Yeah.
because people are like big into it.
How many youth in all of the sports that we do in Santaquin, combining soccer and the ones that are doing baseball, how many people do we have signing up? Individuals.
I don't know off the top of my head. It's
So
thousands.
1,000? I
It's-
mean,
it's thousands. I mean, youth soccer alone is 550 one season. So a year soccer alone is over 1,000 participants. So yeah,
so if we raise, you know, if you, on your side of it, you raise it $5 per sport per year. I mean, you get 1,000 kids, you know, whatever. That's
I think 2 different conversations though.
Yeah.
The pickleball so the one with the new sports equipment didn't receive any votes, so that one is not discussion.
All right.
It's more of just the pickleball.
I thought it was
maybe
discussed to
just-
add those.
Yeah, just
For
maybe
a program.
$1,000 to go toward medal priority things
Yeah.
instead of $2,000.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so that leaves you about. It's yeah, we're still there.
Do we feel like the app, like, I think the hardest part will be getting the word out about the app.
Mhm.
I think it'll be a good thing, but getting the word out. But the banner holders, like, I think that's just the biggest complaint you hear is I didn't know about it.
They've worked pretty slick right now, and we've had a lot of compliments on them. That one would only be $2,200, and that still goes simultaneously. That's just your
So
major
make a banner
thorough
that
ways.
advertises the
I
app.
like that. 'cause
Yeah,
I
you
drive
can make a
past them
banner
both
to
every
advertise
day.
the app.
We could.
Yeah.
We literally could.
I like it.
And again, the whole point of it, you know, it's just there's multiple ways to reach people, right? So go ahead and add this one.
Yeah.
I think
It's
so.
only
cheaper than,
$2,200.
$50,000 digital sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then can we save the rest for either a park pavilion stage or a walking trail? Because it's like just what we had saved last
Well,
year.
I think it's good to save some, especially so whoever's here next year can be like, this was important to them to save for, I don't know.
So let me go to your sticker prioritization.
Okay.
Okay. Third was new bleachers. Fourth was skate park.
How much money's left?
5 was rodeo chutes. 6 was ball field topper. 7 was the walking trail around Centennial. And then last was the trailhead. So based on priority, I mean, you guys can have a discussion, but walking around the Centennial Park received almost the last vote.
Yeah, no, I was saying the pavilion stage or that it just be saved for the
Well, I
future.
think those two things are. I think the reason why we're not for them right now is because they're kind of far down the road,
Yeah.
and we can't get it right now. So it's hard to like. Yeah.
How much money was left?
So we have
Like 15 or
20
16,000.
29, no, sorry,
So I think like yeah,
15.
they're still important. Maybe I don't know.
14.
Oh, and we're not saying they're not important. Well, this all just is based on how you guys prioritized. You can discuss. Let me tell you the exact amount. So we got 115 minus
Should be
130. 14,500 is currently the amount that's available.
I think the saving thing is great.
Yeah.
In other cities that I've been a part of, every dollar was spent every year. The trying to pass it along to the next
Right.
groups and coming years is tough, especially if it's like $100,000 project and you're only doing 10 to 15,000 a year. It just takes so many years to add up the dollar amounts to do that. Those bigger projects should come budgeted from the city, from impact fees or whatever else. I don't know. It's tough for do. I think spending the dollars on larger stuff or current stuff is important.
So do you think
inflation,
spend
you
it?
use your money.
I think spend it. I think it's really difficult to carry things. That's just a
Yeah,
opinion.
Then I
but-
have a suggestion because you said the swing set for the Theodore Allen Pond would be 20,000. What if we put that 14,500 in there and only get a couple tables? And well, I don't know if that would work because the shipping is expensive, but use it
So
all
what-
on that.
you get fewer tables and use more to go
For the swing set.
for the swing set.
So fewer tables at the Theodore Allen Picnic Pavilion or at the Centennial?
Yeah, because we had said 82,000
It's in an
for
exact note
for
here.
that with the pavilion.
And that included
And-
6 tables. You reduce it to 4, and
And then have enough for the $20,000 swing set.
That's a good idea.
Let me just give you as you continue discussing. I'm trying to get an actual exact cost estimate from while you're discussing. Let's see, where was that from?
Should we discuss?
So
I like it.
they're already ground.
I just have a
ground
question for
cover the
you,
swing set.
Brian, probably.
130,000.
So part of our budget discussions we had Tuesday night,
Talk louder.
one of the concerns is
Sorry, I was just
inflation,
asking about the
right?
dollar amounts that
Oh.
we had, whether it was.
It's,
It
It's a
included
scary
that
situation at
12,000
this
for-
point.
that we saved
This
from last
pavilion,
Right.
But I
could
like that
cost
we
this
saved it
much
last
today.
year, 'cause then
Right.
Yeah.
we get to use it.
in
this
2
year.
months from now, guys, that pavilion could go
And
up.
I'm fine not doing that
significantly.
walking trail. I just
Right, and
I think it would be awesome.
So that's
especially
kinda what
with
I'm saying.
concrete right
It
now,
doesn't mean that we have to
there's
do
a
it.
huge concrete
Yeah.
shortage.
As you guys are looking at that pavilion, you need to understand there's
Well, I just
issues,
hope
big
that
time
the
issues.
city will
Wait, what are you saying? There's big
put
issues
some
with
of
the
those in.
pavilion?
One of the discussions we're having on the budget, because we're doing a budget now, the city's budget, and one of the concerns that's come up is obviously inflation and the cost of things. So I was just trying to get with Brian on the making the comment that right now you got cement is hard to get. Inflation alone is going to kick that project up in cost. Even if you did it today, the cost on metal and all that stuff's already gone up.
So
But will it
leave
go
the-
down though? Is the thing.
It could.
It might just keep going up.
But the good thing is if you do like this like that set and you give us 82,000 whatever, and let's say the pavilion ends up costing 80, we would just do less. You know what I mean? We'd figure it out, but that's
yeah.
So adding in that would help give that a buffer as well.
So is it good to leave a little bit of a buffer? Is that what you're thinking?
I
or-
could-
It
think
just
we
kind of
should-
depends. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what the market's going to do,
So
but I don't know if we could
harvest-
get concrete for it. To be honest, if
Right,
we tried to do it
that's
right
not
now,
right.
we couldn't get concrete. For it.
Harvest View Park last year, just the materials bit, like on my side of it, I think we went up an average of 16% on materials from August of last year till April of this year.
Yeah.
16% on, $200,000 in material. It's ridiculous. And it's not, it might level out, but it's not going down. So.
You know what? I am not finding the actual price, so I probably should not get the group committed to it. I will just connect and show
Are
you what it looks like.
Oh,
But maybe one option could be that you could authorize, for Theater Allen Park, the full amount, and then if we can't find something that fits, it gives you the buffer for the pavilion first,
Yep.
with
Yeah.
the ability to add something and use the rest of the money to keep enhancing that playground.
Yeah,
Or
I
we
like
could
it.
do the shade structure. We could find ways
It's
to
not
put money
plugged
into
in now.
Theodore
It's-
Allen
it's
Pond.
not-
I like that.
Yeah, let's try it one more time.
I think it's
Oh,
such a
I'm
fun
a for
place,
pavilion.
and having some shade there would
I
be
agree.
really good.
Well,
and also
That
push
gives
the
us a little
city to
flexibility.
landscape bidders.
I think the shade is gonna, we've been basing everything on the fact that people's really not, they're using it, but they're not using it, but
Yeah.
it comes back to the same issue.
That would be fun.
If you
we had
build
more
it,
shade up
they
there,
will come.
There you go, right.
So there's different types, and again, completely based on, hey, pavilion first, but if there's leftover money in whatever the amount is that you approve, we could try to keep adding things that tie into that adventure playground that are kind of unique. And
That'd be great.
So-
Where are you gonna?
so
do you have
right
to
next
have
to it on the
prepared
north
ground?
side is where there's another spot.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that-
but it has to have
Playground chips.
wood chips, and that's what you're gonna use is wood chips.
Yep. We would have to, yeah.
Okay.
You'd have to have at least 16 inches.
Yeah, but you can.
Oh, that's cute.
They have
Those are
that
some little.
foamy stuff that they put in all the parks now.
It's very
that's-
expensive.
It's about not 3 times.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah,
something to
it's a
think
lot more
about in
expensive. And
the
it-
future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that would be nice. Shade and cushy ground.
So you're saying that those swings right there, those $20,000?
I apologize. I've been getting different price quotes for multiple projects for the last several months. In my mind, I had 20,000 installed, but I'm not for sure on this one.
You can
Again-
buy that little round swing part for $50 at Sam's Club.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
All right.
I bet
we could
Brian
just
could
buy the
build
raw
that.
materials and we could go
Don't you
build
guys
it.
think
We
you
do like
could?
a
They don't want the
goofy-
liability.
I don't want it. Yep.
They
I
don't
want
want
it
the
installed by
liability.
a professional.
Right.
So let me show you what this potentially could look like then. If you wanted to go to 96.5
Certified playground inspector.
with Theater Allen, that would use all 130,000. So basically, that would include $1,000 for the pickleball holders, the metal holders, the ice machine, the park banner holders that are not just for parks but just the advertising banner holders, the community outreach app, the museum projects, developing cultural arts, centennial new picnic tables, and then that would just give 96,500 to with again pavilion being priority, and then whatever else can
Theodore
potentially.
Allen Park.
It gives you a little bit of
Pavilion
flexibility with
tables.
the price increase, but that is a significant project for a year to be able to say, hey, have one more nice amenity at that park.
I'm obviously just one vote, but to me, if we're putting that kind of money up there, I think the emphasis ought to be on what it takes to get shade, right? So the pavilion, and then see if Brian can figure out a way to put some tops on those other tables. I think it'd be your biggest bang for the buck, but that's just for me. Because I think more people would go up and enjoy that then.
And I threw my trampoline mat in the garbage. We could have made shade out of that.
I just took mine down and I was
So
gonna
are
throw it
you
away. So
saying are you against the swing or
Just
is that what you're
prioritizing
saying?
the stuff
I'm
first.
just saying to get, because right now I don't think you're getting the kind of foot
right.
traffic up there
Yeah.
now because of the heat, obviously.
Right.
So I think for the bigger bang here is let's get some things up there that has shade that I think will draw more
Mhm.
people.
And I think the shade will be really important, but like grass. It's just when you go up there, it feels so.
And then you have a
dry
sprinkling
and-
system.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like all the stuff that comes
Start
along with
taking
it, and yet if we really want this park to be a used, accessible park for families and stuff, we've got to do those things.
But that's
But I
in their
think it's
master
more like
plan.
a natural
Right.
park,
Yeah.
right?
So
It's more like
everything
a-
you've mentioned is in the master plan. So there are things that we want to eventually do. It's just a matter of how much can we bite off at a time. By allotting this amount of money to just that general project, it gives us a little bit of time and flexibility to go research. Yeah, what could we do? Maybe we could do a little bit of everything, or a little bit of nothing,
Yeah, right.
or a lot of nothing, right?
Right.
And so you're basically committing that money to the overall project and then giving us a little bit of leeway to try to find out. Again, this is July 1 money, so what are the prices? These are estimates, are good for 30 days. Once we get to July 1, if those things are still good, we jump on them and we lock prices in, but that gives us a little bit of flexibility.
So just so we know going ahead with the Theodore Allen Park, how many tables do you want at that? Do you want me to order 4 with the 7? Or do you want me to
Just
order
depends
6?
on how far our dollar's going. If we can get 6, fantastic. If 4 is more reasonable,
I think what
we
we can do is go look at the one in Nephi because it's an exact duplicate and see what the tables look like in it as far as
It
numbers.
looked like there was 6, so in between
Yeah,
each.
Or I live down there. I can actually swing by and even take closer pictures instead of driving. But I think that'll give us a good feel for. Yeah, is it so crowded that you can't even walk in the middle? And then seeing what the cost of tables are too, right? Okay.
And can I just say, I really think that the swings would be an important thing up there because it's great for 9 or 10-year-olds, to climb around that thing. But if we had swings, that'd just be the icing on the cake. I realize that we need shade. Maybe we can figure out shade.
Maybe
and
there's
still
like a
get the
smaller
swings.
swing set that has 2 swings or something instead of.
They have all kinds of,
Yeah,
again, there's a lot of options, and what the city does is we usually get someone else to install. That's, again, liability.
Yeah.
It's all about the liability with playgrounds, and so we could get all kinds of quotes and say, hey, there's 6 options here, and Brian can look at the shade structures, and we'll look at all those options and see how we can get the best bang for our buck at that site for that money.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it.
So, does that bring us to a place where we vote at this point, or?
I think so, unless there's any other items that anyone's really feeling strongly about. This does take us to the amount of money that's been allotted. So if there's a majority of vote for this, you could move forward, and then we can take that on to City Council for further discussion.
Is there anything else that we have overlooked in the other things that instead of putting that full, what did you say, was 96.5 toward that park that we'd want to take, 3, 4, 5,000 to put towards something else that's equally in need and will serve a big amount of people?
We'll open that
I'm
up
not.
to the group.
I like the more money for that. Because it's something permanent that will be there. And it is such a beautiful place.
I was just thinking, like, it is, but like the youth sports equipment, we didn't fund that at all, but it's obviously
'Cause we're
very
gonna
much in
raise the
need and
fees.
services a
Raise the
lot of
fees.
kids.
Yeah.
A lot more people play sports than go up to Theodore Allen Park, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I just don't want to overlook.
You're looking at something that people are paying for their child to play each
Yeah, do
time they
we
sign
wanna-
up, or something that's we're paying for as a city and they can use free at will.
That's
If
true.
that makes sense.
It's to take tax money and use it towards something that they have to pay for too.
Yeah, it's kind of. double
I don't know, like, I mean, I
double
see,
way.
like, it'd be great, but I say raise the fees.
I agree.
Let's see.
Any other items?
Like the bleachers, we didn't fund that, right? We didn't do
Is
that.
that something you can
Oh, I
ever,
thought we did.
I don't think
the
we did.
Did we not?
bleachers?
No.
Is that something you can ever find used? Bleachers?
No.
I don't know. I could ask Payson whether they're getting rid of if they're getting rid of theirs. I don't know.
We're on their waiting list.
We
Oh,
want
be
your
the
old crap.
DI
Sounds like-
bleachers, crappy bleachers. No.
Yeah, what did they do with all their bleachers from the park that they're ripping everything out?
We've got some feelers out, seeing if we could tap into those.
Because I'm sure they're not going to put them in their beautiful new baseball fields.
Those are all new bleachers.
I mean, the reality is, for Orchard Days to continue to grow, and there's a whole additional plan that would need to, you know, grandstand and a lot more bleachers than just 4 sets. But
Yeah,
I think the idea that Ryan's thinking about is just he sees every day we go by these bleachers that some are in pretty rough shape, and our operations, again, the things we bring to you are things that we don't have enough money in the city operation budget. So it's not that the city's not paying for improvements of things, it's just it only goes so far. And so these things that we bring to you are extra. It's not that they're not important or they are important, it's just they're things that can be funded. So.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see like what the need is and what, you know, because we don't know, you know, but I don't know.
Okay. Very good.
Well, I guess we are comfortable with voting on this and keeping it the way that we've decided so far. Okay, so how do we go about this? I kind of
Verbiage.
They would just go ahead and vote. Dave, I think you're like me. I don't think we're voting members. We're
Right.
city staff, so it'd really be
right.
the 5 of you voting to approve this and make recommendation to move it to city council.
Okay. Well, do we have a motion to approve this as we have set it up?
I will make a motion to approve this as we've set it up to recommend to City Council for approval.
There's a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, the
Thank
motion
you.
stands approved.
Good
Okay.
work.
Thank
Well-
you for your guys' effort. We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
For all
I know
the
that's a
work.
lot of work for you to
Well,
do all
and
those
again,
things.
traditionally we've met in like March and kind of giving you an update because that gives us plenty of time to spend money and hey, this is where we're at, and that's where we made that decision. Hey, we're not going to do the one fence that we had voted on. Let's redirect it toward the trail. And so we can do that if you want. We can always meet prior to that. It's usually a lot of the projects aren't necessarily always done at the first of the year. Some are spread out through the year depending on the projects.
And just for information, are there any projects we funded last year that look like they are not going to happen this year, that where some of that funds may come back into this pot, or is we're looking
I
at?
think we got
The
them all done.
volleyball was the only one that I haven't actually got.
The volleyball, but we've got until the end of June. Do you think?
And I've purchased the pole. I've purchased everything that's expensive with that one. The only thing I haven't got is the sand, which I think it's like $9 a ton. So it's not.
Okay.
If we miss that one, it's not a.
Looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah. So I think we'll end up using the majority of that money. And again, consider when we talked about there is more money coming each year as the sales tax increases, and so it's just there'll be more and more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So our next meeting, it looks like we'll determine that later.
Yes.
Do we need to motion to adjourn? I heard this. Is this okay? Thank you. Any second?
Okay.
Oh, I second it. Let's.
So,
Thank you.
so we're not meeting again till next year?
Well, traditionally we haven't. If you guys would like to for any reason, let's say we want to get an update on Theodore Allen come October or something like that, we could definitely get the group together and give you an update on where we're at. That would definitely be something. At that point, the money has been blessed and funded by City Council, and it would just be more giving us some recommendations. Would that be a good idea?
I'd love to hear.
That'd be kind of fun to see.
Especially with that one where that's your big money item. We'll I won't say the exact date, but let's plan on doing something in the fall and bringing the group back together for that.
Thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
Your role was great.
Thank you very